EAGLES. Eagles.
What is up, gang? Happy Wednesday, hump day, one and all. Rob Ellis, Derek Gunn with you on this beautiful day. What's up, Gunner? How we doing?
How you doing, my brother? I know you happy as a hog in slop.
I am a happy camper. Yes, that is correct. Beautiful comeback last night. Phillies being shut out 1-0, and then boom, walk, all against David Robertson, by the way, former Philly. Walk, and then Harper with Harper's money. Harper with a clutch double, ties it, and then Castellanos, man. And let me get to that in a second, because the Castellanos thing is fascinating, Derek. What's up, Mo? What's up, Chris D? What's up, Twiz? What's up, Father Sean? Mr. Taz Tyler? Mo, how we all doing? Here's what's interesting about the Castellanos thing. So he's a Miami native, has a house in Miami. Phillies fly back from Pittsburgh Sunday night. Rob Thompson tells him he's going to have Monday off just to kind of clear his head because he's been in a massive struggle here. So he says, all right, take the night off. I don't even want you taking BP on Monday. Go chill. They land in Miami, whatever time that was at night, because they got done about 4 o'clock in Pittsburgh. So they land, he goes right to his home, calls up his brother and his buddy and says, look, I got to get work in here. So he has a cage in his backyard, batting cage. So Gunner, he gets into the cage Sunday night after playing, Sunday in Pittsburgh and flying to Miami and works on mechanics there, Sunday night with his family. Then he has the day off. Yesterday's his son Liam's 10th birthday. Cute kid. He's always behind home plate. And they're always high-fiving each other and, whatever. He's a, very loving dad. So he's got family, friends, as you would expect at the game. He was off Monday, but he's playing last night. He hits that 2-run shot, which he really badly needed. I mean, he has just been in a real funk. Like I said, last 22 games, he was hitting 122. So that's a pretty cool moment. Like, you do it on your kid's birthday. You do it in front of at home, in front of your home crowd. Thompson tells him just get away from it for a minute, which managers need to do from time to time. And all things worked out. So it's a nice, happy ending there last night for him and the team, for sure.
Well, the big money players took matters into their own hands in this game.
Yep.
There was a huge walk by Schwarber to set the stage. Harper comes through with the clutch double, and then Castellanos, boom. That's what you need to see more of. It has to be more consistent. That's what teams like the Atlanta Braves do. Mm-hmm. That's what the Dodgers do. Their big money boys are counted on, which is the reason why they're at the top of their divisions. I'd be hard pressed. And I should have looked at the numbers. I'd be hard pressed, other than the Mets, to think of any payroll in the National League that's larger than the Phillies.
Yes.
Outside of the Mets.
Dodgers, I would say.
Probably. Maybe the Dodgers.
Yep.
And the Mets have been a disaster. But the Phillies, they're trending in the right direction. They're putting a little separation between themselves and Miami. But we got to see more. That was their 26th comeback win of the season. I didn't even realize that until last night.
They've been excellent, and trailing in the 9th and coming back and winning too. Yeah,
because I thought they were dead rights. I thought that game was over 1-0. I really did.
Yeah,
to be honest with you.
Yep.
The way they had 4 hits going into the top of the 9th, and no runs, and I'm thinking, here we go again. But you're right. They've been really good in 9th inning situations, extra inning situations. It's been way overdue for this team, and I tell you what, hopefully this is the start of good things to come, or better things to come, I should say.
Amen. So they come back and win. They've taken the first 2 games of the series. They play tonight. You got Wheeler tonight. All right, trade deadline, Derek. This was the big thing we were tracking all day yesterday. So basically, they get a pitcher, Michael Lorenzen, who's pitched extremely well this year. He was an all-star for the Tigers, and in particular, he's pitched great of late for them. And what he does is he gives them a lot of versatility. First of all, it's the ultimate insurance if somebody does get hurt. But the other thing that Dave Dombrowski said was they are very much, especially during this stretch with no days off, they intend to go to a 6-man rotation.
Wow.
As to spread these guys out a little bit. You remember Wheeler hit the wall last year, missed a month. before the playoffs started. We know Nola hasn't looked right all year, whatever that is. Maybe that he's tired. I don't know what. But when you add somebody like this, who's a quality pitcher, you can, effectively give these guys a little bit of a break during the real dog days here in August and September, and perhaps have them ready to go for the playoffs. Now, the other thing you could do is you could use Lorenzen out of the bullpen. He's worked out of the bullpen a lot in his career.
Yep.
That's something else you could do. Yeah, the shame of it is with the universal DH, this dude can flat rake as a pitcher. Like, he is a hitter. He hit a home run against the Phillies and pitched 2 innings when he was a Red and got the win in a couple of years back. And he was a great 2-way hitter at Cal State Fullerton. But anyway, they got it.
Part 2.
Huh?
Otani part 2.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Otani light. So Lorenzen, they look, good pitcher. Would I have liked for them to bring in a bat with some pop for the outfield? Yes. They're really now depending on Rojas and when Pache comes back to be able to carry the load. Well, and we'll see. They've done a really nice job so far, those guys. They're more on the defensive side, can run. They're not guys who can hit home runs necessarily. But what they're counting on basically is they're big money players to play like big money players. That's it. I mean, that's really what this comes down to.
I think Dombrowski basically is saying, why should I disrupt this lineup? We constructed this lineup with a purpose. We doled out a lot of money to big name players deliberately for a reason. This is on you. You guys 1 through 9, night in and night out. This is on you. There's no reason to bring in another bat. We have people that have statistically shown they can hit for high averages and big numbers. You haven't done it consistently all year long. This is on you guys. We're not bringing any more parachutes in this regard. Rob Thompson, we gave you the extension. This is on you. Schwarber, Turner, all you guys, Castellanos, Realmuto, this is all on you. This is why we paid you guys, big time money to come in here and do this thing. So from here on, it's on their shoulders now. No crutch, no crutch whatsoever.
Agreed. Yeah, it's you're right. It's very cut and dry. It's very clear here. Like you big boys, you don't deliver, then guess what? We're either not going to be in the playoffs or we're going to be out of the playoffs real quick.
Oh yeah.
So it is an interesting move there. What they ended up doing. We'll get more into that coming up at 1:00. All right. A couple things with the Eagles. They're off today. They'll be back at it tomorrow. And we talked about this a little bit, Derek, but let's dive a little bit deeper into the Hassan Reddick thing. And I know Tone, our producer, Tone DeShields. Tone, you have the comps here. So this is the AAV. So the average annual value of edge rushers in the National Football League. And we want to show you where Hassan Reddick compares, what the comps are, as they like to say in real estate, Derek, in terms of what they're paid. All right. TJ Watt, 28 million. I was going to say 28,000. 28 million for TJ Watt.
He's worth it.
No question, right? Joey Bosa. Here, I think Bosa's overpaid. He's not Nick. Joey Bosa's hurt all the time.
Yeah.
Now, when he's healthy, the guy's nasty, but he's hurt way too much for my taste. Okay, that's Myles Garrett, worth it.
Worth it.
Max Crosby, I'm good.
Worth it. I'm good.
Khalil Mack, not at this point.
I don't know. I think he's getting his money more on his past name than anything else.
Yep. Bradley Chubb, we'll see. We'll see what it looks like in Miami. We'll see.
I think he's worth it. Yeah.
Okay. Leonard Williams, I'm a big fan of.
Yep.
He can do a lot of different things for you too, Leonard Williams. Hendrickson's very underrated, in my opinion. I don't know if he's 21 million worth, but he's underrated. Yeah, he's good. Von Miller, stud. I hope the guy comes back healthy. I wish nothing but the best for him. Harold Landry's a very good player. He's kind of underrated. I don't know that he's a $17.5 million guy. He's had some injuries too, but good player. He's a good player. Cam Jordan's very good.
Cam Jordan is underpaid.
Yeah. Draymond. Here's the problem, Derek. We're down to 12 now.
Yep.
We're still not seeing Hassan Reddick.
Nope.
Draymond Jones, 17.1. Seattle. Eric Armstead, very good player.
He's worth it.
Yeah, 17. Chandler Jones, not last year.
Nope.
Not last year. I like Alex Highsmith a lot. He's a classic Steeler.
He's a guy who's not a household name yet, but he is a comer. And I'm surprised they're paying him that much. He's still early in his career. But you know what? If you can get it, take it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's Shaq Barrett. He's been a very good player for a long time, dealing with a lot of stuff, too. Cameron Haywood, again, very good player for a long time.
Absolutely.
Steeler. Ogbah's been a good player too. Zach Allen. I don't know that Zach Allen is a 15.2, but some of that is off of what he did in Arizona where he crushed it. So, all right, here we go. Here's 20. We're sitting here and Hassan's making 15, right? And we're sitting here at 20 at the 20th overall guy. I can't imagine he's thrilled with that. So there's a couple of issues here, Derek. He just signed the deal last year. He's got 2 years left on that deal. And he said yesterday, look, I know a lot of players play for the money. I play to try to win, et cetera, et cetera. But nonetheless, for a guy who had 19 sacks, if you include I think it was 19 and a half, if you include the postseason last year, he is underpaid. He is.
Well, he basically admitted in so many words that he wanted to come home. So he did that. Him and his agent negotiated this deal. And it tells me that he took a little bit less money to come home. Okay. But we also heard his comment. Jeff McClain, our colleague and friend, asked him the question, do you feel you're underpaid? And he said, you know what? Y'all see what's out there. You see it. How many players have double-digit sacks with 3 different teams in consecutive years?
None. I don't think anybody's done it in 3 consecutive years, at least of late.
But the bottom line is you put your name on a contract in the first year of a contract. You signed it. You agreed to it. You were comfortable with it. So even if you feel a certain way about the contract, hey, you agreed to it. Nobody twisted your arm to take it.
True.
So right now, based on those other guys, is he underpaid? Should he be paid more? Yeah. But here's the thing. Howie Roseman identifies quality. Howie Roseman will take care of this. If Howie Roseman feels it needs to be addressed after this season, if he has another 15, 16, 17 season sack, Howie Roseman will address that. They'll redo that contract. They'll give him some money up front to appease him, get the cap number low to open up some space to do some other things. I'd be shocked if Hassan Reddick equals or betters what he did in sacks this year if Howie doesn't correct this.
I would agree with that. We talked about it a little bit yesterday. I do think it might take another year of this, right? I think it might take another year of this. You look at it and it's 3 years, $45 million is nothing to sneeze at, right? But they've figured out how to use him in this league at a high rate. Now, the one thing to keep in mind, I'm just dropping this out there. Okay. There is a similar comp with Nolan Smith. Nolan Smith has proved nothing in the league yet. Let me be clear about that. But body type, skill set, upside, all that kind of thing. Let me just throw this out there. Let's say Hassan has a really good year again. But Nolan Smith, in limited opportunity, shows you that he's the real deal. Are they still in a rush to get a deal done with Hassan Reddick?
I would say yes, based on Howie Roseman and how he identifies players that they want to keep happy, that he'll do something. Yes. You have Nolan Smith on a rookie contract. And Hassan Reddick, you still have for 2 more years based on his current deal.
Yep.
But like I said, Howie is one of those guys. He wants to be in harmony with his players. And if he feels that you're a vital cog moving forward, let's say they get close to, let's say they pull the Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati Bengals got to the Super Bowl. The next year, they got to the AFC Championship and bowed out. If the Eagles get to the NFC Championship game this year and bow out, and Howie feels that we're this close to getting back there again for a 3rd consecutive year, Hassan Reddick is one of those primary players that he already knows who's still in the prime of his career that could help him. He wants a happy Hassan Reddick, not a disgruntled Hassan Reddick.
Yep.
We talk about this all the time. We don't hear Eagles grumbling about their contracts for a reason. Howie steps in and takes care of these matters. And that's why I'll say it again, as I said it earlier. if somehow, some way, Hassan Reddick equals or betters his sack total in 2023, I'd be shocked of how he doesn't step in and appease this man, to be honest with you.
I hear you. And that would be very Eagles-esque to do that. That's for sure. But interesting stuff, Tone. Appreciate the graphics there. By the way, happy birthday to our girl Fitness Rebel.
Yeah, Fitness Rebel.
Yes.
Happy B-Day. How old are you? 18, 19?
21. She's 21 now.
21. She's legal?
She's legal. She can have an adult beverage if she chooses. Yes. Yes.
With a little foam on the top of it?
There you go. So Sills thinks the Eagles will move on from Reddick and move to Smith like they did. See, Ertz, I don't know. I feel like, and it did get contentious with Ertz, if you remember, and he expresses unhappiness. Now, Hassan didn't do that yesterday.
No.
And I felt like, even though they may have been run its course a little bit more with Ertz here, and I think you knew a little bit more that Goddard was the real deal. We have to find out about Smith. We have to find out.
See, the thing, here's the thing with Ertz. When Ertz started grumbling, Goddard was in that last year where he had to be paid.
Right.
And Howie Roseman came out and said, we cannot pay two tight ends that big money. See, so that's why they knew Goddard was on the rise, and Ertz has served his purpose here. So therefore, out with the old, in with the new.
Yeah.
In this case, you have Nolan Smith under a rookie deal. You know, he's not going anywhere. You know, and again, let me reiterate, if Howie identifies that Reddick can help them in 2024, if they fall short in 2023, they're not moving on from Hassan Reddick. That's not going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
They'll front load that deal and give him a big chunk of money.
But it is interesting that they have the possible heir apparent in the house. A lot of this is going to depend on what we see here. You know, I mean, a lot of it is.
Right.
But yeah, Dan thinks in 2 years at 31 they'll pay him. I don't think this is not like it used to be with say Joe Banner, where it's a hard and fast rule where you don't extend anybody beyond 30. I don't think so. I mean, I think a lot of it's going to depend, Dan. I mean, and everybody. I think it depends on the productivity of Hassan over the next couple of years and how much you see Nolan Smith blossom. You know, I mean, really, that's what it's going to come down to. But to me, to find edge rushers that can get to the quarterback as much as they can, and he's also got a nose for the ball too. Don't get me wrong. They're hard. They don't come by, you know, every year. I mean, they're tough to find, those guys.
Do you think Howie wants to potentially see Hassan Reddick end up with one of the other three teams in the division? No. Look at how many times they've redone Lane Johnson's contract. Look at how many times they've given money to Jason Kelsey. Now, granted, they got Brandon Graham on a bargain basement deal. They got Fletcher Cox in a bargain basement deal. But they could have moved on from both of those guys and got younger.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't for a reason.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Look at the money they gave 25-year-old A.J. Brown. Okay? Howie's smart enough to know. Howie has learned some valuable lessons as a financial decision maker and as a man who constructs a roster of what it takes to build the right roster. He did it in 2017. You know, if it wasn't for the depth of that roster in 17, they don't get to the Super Bowl. And let's face it, I mean, obviously, you know, Nick was a Cinderella story, a once-in-a-lifetime Cinderella story, Nick Foles.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they just caught lightning in the bottle in the right time that year. This team, the way it's built, okay, you look at the contracts Malott already has. They got a young, proven Landon Dickerson.
Yep.
You got a right guard position that'll be solidified. Lane Johnson for at least 2 more years. Reddick, A.J. Brown for a few more years. Devontae Smith still under a rookie contract. And the backfield will always be plug and play. They'll always find quality backs to run a Nick Sirianni offense.
Yeah.
You look at the other side of the ball, high-end pass rushers, edge rushers are not a high commodity like running backs. You know, premier pass rushers out there are not just falling off the tree. Hassan Reddick has put himself in the category, whatever you don't like about Hassan Reddick and his coverage game, defending against the run, he's paid to attack the quarterback, and that's what he does extremely well.
Yep.
How he's going to keep that man in the fold?
So you guys think the Eagles will pay market value for Reddick in 2 years? Yeah, I think it's possible.
I didn't say 2 years. I said next year. 2 years would be the third year of that contract.
But I don't think it's out of the question. I mean, 31 is not ancient. If you don't see him slipping, I think it's possible. Yeah, it depends. I mean, it depends. Obviously, if his asking price is too much or his play goes down, then that's a whole different story. It really is. But yeah, I think it's look, I think it's a fascinating debate. I really do. The Eagles aren't the hardliners that they were at one time. They're just not. But there's no doubt. Like some of this is Reddick and some of this is Nolan Smith's development. It's really a kind of a combo effort, combo platter, if you will.
Yep.
All right, Eagles question the day, D Gun.
Yes.
All right. All right. At the present time, which team on the Eagles schedule would you most like to see them beat?
49ers.
Go Niners.
I want to see them beat the brakes off the 49ers. All that talking they did, if we had this, if we had that, we would have done this, we would have done that. Yeah. I want to see them beat. I want the 49ers to be the healthiest they can possibly be. I want the 49ers to go into that game with no injuries whatsoever. And I want to see the Eagles beat the living brakes off the 49ers to shut them up once and for all.
All right. So here's the choices I would say.
The brakes.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to throw this out there. Now, you could certainly, and I want to hear from everybody in the chat, okay? And you can certainly add one if you don't feel like I'm hitting one. But Niners.
Wait, you go top 5?
No, I'm giving you the teams that I think would be in it.
Okay.
Under consideration. You tell me if I'm missing anything.
Okay.
You mentioned the Niners without question. The Eagles beat them, and all they've done is cried. You lost to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl by 3 points. You had a 10-point lead at the halftime. I mean,
Chiefs are my number 2.
Right. You want to avenge your Super Bowl loss to Andy Reid and the Chiefs. Okay, that's another one I put in there. Without question, the Cowboys go there, right? You get them twice. There are a lot of folks that still have that giant hatred from way back when. People that can't stand Washington. You're playing the hoodie again this year. Okay, week 1, you get him. I'll just throw those teams out there. You want to throw Buffalo in or Miami, fine. You want to mix in some really good teams because they play a lot of really good teams. I get it. All right, if you were ranking them, Derek, in 1 to 5, what would you go? What would your order be?
Number one would be San Francisco. Number 2 would be Kansas City. Number 3 would be Dallas. Everybody loves to hate Dallas. Number 4 would be Buffalo.
Buffalo 4, interesting. Okay.
And number 5 would be Aaron Rodgers and the Jets.
Ooh, okay. That's a little different. I like that little jet twist you put in there at the end. Yeah. All right. I'm going to go. Look, I have to go. Derek, I can't. It has to be the Cowboys. I have to go Cowboys.
Number 1? I
have to still go Yeah. Beating them, beating
That's
Jerry
just
Jones.
Because of your Philadelphia hatred.
I know. I admit it. But with the weasels that are still in this area with the star on their helmet, it's that grew up here. I loathe them. So I'm going to go Cowboys 1, Niners 2.
Niners 2.
Chiefs 3.
Yep.
I still hate the Giants, man. Giants are 4.
What?
Yes. Washington 5. Hi, Josh Harris. I want to see you in the box, frowning, not happy. All right. So I'm going to go with that. That is my order. Dallas, San Fran, Kansas City, Giants, Washington. That's my 5.
See, I didn't put the Giants or Washington only because I expected.
I said Cowboys, Sills. It's the Cowboys. Yes. I'm not lying.
I didn't put Giants or Washington because I expect them to beat those teams. Those teams still have big question marks for quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So I didn't even put them in there.
This is pretty tight with the chat. There's a lot of, some Cowboy, but Niner. It's a real Cowboy Niner battle here. This thing's tight. This thing is tight. I love it.
There's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of backdoor story elements for why, you want to see him beat certain teams, I had to put the 49ers at the top as much as I want to see them beat Dallas, especially in Dallas.
Yeah.
You know,
this is unique. This 49ers thing is unique.
Yes.
I agree with you.
This 49ers thing's just a little different because their players have been yapping since that game ended, you know. And
It's
so,
Rebel wants the Chiefs. I like it.
Well, I get that. And the Chiefs were a close second for me.
Yep.
You know, I want to see him take down Patrick Mahomes. And as much as I love Andy Reid, you know, I want to see him take down that team as well.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something about the Niners that just irk you, just get under your skin.
You got that
for,
right.
for a team that and again, okay, they lost 2 quarterbacks. The second quarterback they put in the game was not going to come anywhere near close to beating that Eagles defense.
Yeah, Josh Johnson. I mean, come on. He's what 14 teams. I'm not even exaggerating. He's played for 14 teams.
Yes. And I did want to see the 49ers play this wonder kid Brock Purdy to see if they could shut him up.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to see that. Didn't happen. He was gone early in the game. Okay. So I understand why the Niners have been winding up to a certain point. But after a certain point, you let it go. You can't change the past.
Yeah.
Focus on the present and the future, and they refuse to do that. You know, so because they've been yapping for so long, see, Big Sale says Cowboys, Giants, Washington, 49ers, Packers. Hey, man, Packers.
Oh, he worked the Packers in, D-Gun.
Hold up, Big Sale.
That was a D-Gun shot.
Hold up.
Shots fired at D-Gun.
I thought we was boys. You know what?
I love it.
You know what? Now it ain't personal. It's always business, but now it's personal, Big Seal.
It's Nito Brown time.
Yeah, man. Hey. All right, Seals. I know where you live, bro. I got people looking out for you. I got people in San Diego. You know, I just remember that. I got loyal Packer fans in San Diego, bro. You mess with the wrong dude now.
Here's the thing, though, seriously about the Niners, like that surprised me. I get a couple players popped off that heat of the moment, frustrated, whatever. Although it's been the whole summer. Like Shanahan did it. Like the only one who I haven't heard do it is John Lynch. But everybody else has whined about this.
Here's the way I look at it, Rob. 49ers are considered the most physical team in football. Okay.
Yeah.
They have one of the most loaded. We talk about the Eagles roster being loaded. That roster is loaded with players. And they had the one parachute is that our quarterback who got us that far didn't get to finish the game. He got knocked out early. Mm-hmm. That's why I want whoever it is, Brock Purdy, Trey Lance. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Joe Montana, Y.A. Tittle. I don't care who the quarterback is. I want them to be 100% healthy when they face the Eagles again.
Yep.
I want the Eagles to be 100% healthy. I want them to be 100% healthy. I don't want any more whining whatsoever. If the 49ers lose again to the Eagles this year, it may mess up their whole season, the rest of the season.
I agree. That would be a beautiful thing, wouldn't it?
Hey.
I want nothing more than every one of their players to play the entire game. I want Purdy to play the whole game. I want every guy clean, and the Eagles put it on him. And then I want Debo asked about it. I want every McCaffrey, every one of them who whined.
That's right. That's right.
What happened? What's up? Nobody was hurt this time. What's your excuse this time? That's what I want. I agree with you.
So based on you agreeing with me, are you moving the 49ers up to number 1?
No, I can't do it.
You Eagles homer.
I am. But here's the problem.
I don't blame you though.
But here's the thing. Like if I would love beating the Niners, don't get me wrong. But getting swept by the Cowboys or losing to the Cowboys, to me, there's just a different kind of feel the next day. There's a different kind of feel that night, that late afternoon after it happens. It's just the worst. It is the absolute worst. The bummer was last year. What was that, Christmas Day or Christmas Eve? Christmas Eve, I think it was.
Something like that,
yeah. This year's Christmas Day. It was Christmas Eve. The Cowboys lost. The Eagles should have won that game. They should have won that game in Dallas. And I'm not blaming Minshew. I actually blame Watkins more than I blame Minshew for not making a couple plays on interceptions. But they should have won that game, and they did.
Well, I'm not going to blame just Watkins. I blame the defense. How many points they give up in that game?
Well, right, and they were remember the miscommunication.
Yes.
Job and
the big shot Slay. down the sideline.
Yeah.
On Slay.
Yeah.
I'm blaming the defense. But how many breakdowns did they have in that game?
A ton. Too many. Far too many.
Now we'll say this too. Avonte Maddox was having a great game, and he got hurt. That
affected things.
Loss.
You're right.
Huge loss.
No, you're right about that. Yeah, for sure.
But it's something about Dak Prescott that plays like a Pro Bowler when he plays the Eagles. I just don't get it, man. I can't figure it out.
Yeah, he had all he had was the one pick six. He had, not that was nothing, because we know that was an issue for him the whole year. But that, other than that, I mean, he took the Eagles apart in that game. If you look at it, I was looking at this it was 2 days ago when I was, I don't know, researching something for the show. But if you look at it, in the 2 games that he played against the Eagles, there was the one that we're referencing, the Christmas Eve game. He was 27 of 35 for 347 yards, 3 touchdowns. Right? He had a 124.3 passer rating. And he didn't play in the other one, right? I mean, he missed the other game. So, yeah, it's crazy.
So who is that on? More so Quez or the defense?
Defense. Yeah, for sure.
He shredded the defense. That vaunted defense, he shredded them.
Yeah. I mean, look, that's the big question, right? And what are the twists? What are the spins? What is going to happen here with Sean Desai? What's he going to do differently that won't allow good quarterbacks to beat the Eagles up? Because we saw that a lot last year. I mean, obviously Mahomes does it to everybody, but now you're going to get Rodgers. You're going to get, if Tua's healthy,
Josh Allen, Tua.
You're going to get Josh Allen. Yeah, you're going to get Dak twice if he's healthy. You're going to get Cousins, who they actually did a good job against last year, in fairness. But Aaron Rodgers, as we mentioned, Geno Smith, who had a good year last year, et cetera. So you're going to get a much better, range here for sure.
Absolutely.
Quarterbacks. All right, let's get a timeout in here, Derek, and let's come back. I have a proposal for you guys in the chat and everybody who wants to jump in. If you were drafting present day, this is not based on their history and what they've done, but right now you are drafting your top 10 Eagles on the team in terms of importance, what would your order be? We'll do that. We'll get into a bunch of other things when we come back, including some observations from what we see in the first 4 days of camp as well. He's Derek Gunn. I am Rob Ellis. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Let's talk about Bravo Pizza of Havertown. Yeah, thrilled that they are a part of the channel, part of the show. I've been going there since I was a kid. They've been family-owned since 1985. Alex and the crew, just an amazing job that they do each and every day. A lot of variety, and that's the thing you love the most. They have 20 different styles of pizza, but even beyond those 20, they have the specialized pizza however you want it. But even if you're not really in the mood for pizza, they have pasta, they have sandwiches, they have wraps, they have wings, they have salads. All the above can really check off all the boxes for everybody in the family, whatever you're feeling that day or night. Bravo's also committed to the community. They have fundraisers for charities, schools, little leagues, where the proceeds go to those organizations. You can follow them on Instagram and Facebook at the Bravo Pizza of Havertown for daily specials, promotions, and the menu. They're at 1305 Westchester Pike, Manoa Shopping Center in Havertown. 1305 Westchester Pike, Manoa Shopping Center in Havertown. Give them a call right now, 610-446-3810. 610-446-3810. That's Bravo Pizza of Havertown.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
For the big story on Action News,
search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction, go with trust,
Go Birds!
and go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
All right, did you know I was the Mommy Slam Dunk Champion?
Really?
Yes, really don't sound so surprised.
Let's see it.
Oh, you're ready. All right, here we go. Let's hear the crowd. So go to right, go to left. Fake 'em out. Mama, go up, up, up.
She did it.
Again?
You can't avoid gravity, but United Healthcare can help you avoid financial surprises by helping you compare costs and doctor quality ratings. United Healthcare.
Uh-huh.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Back on this Wednesday. Appreciate you hanging with us. August 2nd. That is Derek Gunn. I am Rob Ellis. All right, Derek. So let's continue the Eagles discussion here. A couple things, observations from what we've seen thus far from the practices. One, I like this. Use whatever you can technologically to make yourself better. They're using drones now at practice. Are the team, and I don't know if that's for. It could be for their video crew to put together really cool things, or it could be, for them to get a different look at things. Whatever. Who cares? Like, to me, use whatever's at your disposal. That's a good thing.
Well, I wonder if they're using that in lieu of using. The teams always had a guy high in a crane.
The eye in the sky. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if they're using that in lieu of having a guy up in a crane, which could be a little dangerous when you think about it.
I agree. So we've seen, unfortunately, I remember Notre Dame years ago. Unfortunately, wind gust blew somebody out of there. And It was not good. Yeah, it could be safer using those drones. You're right.
Yeah. But I'm surprised the NFL hasn't done it sooner. Well, more teams hasn't done it sooner. Mm-hmm. It does give you a different perspective. See, when you have those guys in the cranes, you only get to a certain angle when it's way. And I know you got one at each end, so you got play coming to you and play coming away from you. But the drones can follow the plays more accurately, stay above the entire, thing. I know drones, a good drone, they're expensive. A cheap drone, I have friends who have drones that they use just for family photos, scenic shots, wedding pictures.
Yeah.
A cheap one is like $500. That's a cheap.
Yeah.
A good one you're talking about, my goodness. Well over $1,000 for a good one.
Yeah. No, but I'll tell you, man, they are awesome. Some of the stuff that you can do with them, like my friend Tim Furlong from NBC 10 does his own, is licensed and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. It really adds to the packages and the features that he does. It's really, really cool. It's awesome. But yeah, any kind of different look that you can get is a good thing. I heard drones give a third look. You can look at alignment and technique better. Yeah, absolutely.
You're hovering right over the play. Yeah,
no doubt. So I thought it was cool. I'm glad to see that they're doing that. A couple other observations. You have to take all of this with a grain of salt because of what's going on. Some of this, they were just in pads for the first time yesterday. So it is what it is. But were
there any fights? I didn't see any reports of fights breaking out.
Nope. I didn't see any fights either. The one thing that's a little bit concerning is, and I understand a lot of times you could be working on technique. A lot of times there's things that we don't even know that happened. A receiver runs a wrong route, all that. But Mariota's accuracy has been very sketchy in the early going here. I don't so much worry. He's got 3 interceptions. I don't really worry as much about the numbers, so to speak, but he just hasn't looked comfortable yet. And, considering Jalen's missed time the last 2 years, you need somebody who can step in and be serviceable.
Well, it's still early in his learning curve.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he's still trying to get a feel for where receivers are going to be and things of that nature. It's one thing to do it in an OTA or a mini camp, where it's controlled. Those are the learning portals. Now when it's starting, the speed is picking up. He's got to learn. He's got to get on the same page with his receivers, which way they're going to cut in certain pass routes and things of that nature. Are they going to deviate from the pass route depending on what coverage they're looking at? The eye contact you make with a receiver, especially your primary receiver on any given pass play, that comes with time. But it does not bode well for Mariota, considering how his career in general has spiraled downward since his first couple of years in the National Football League. This guy came in a college herald as possibly the next great quarterback to enter the National Football League. It's been anything but that over the past several years. So, there's got to be an inner struggle as well, because he's got to be thinking about this stuff in the back of his mind. This might be my last shot to prove myself to people. He's in a Gardner Minshew situation, basically.
Yeah, man, who'd have thought? A guy with that pedigree, like Minshew, most people didn't even think he was going to be in the league. Man, times have changed for Mariota, that's for sure. Christian Ellis continues to look very good. Actually getting rotated in a little bit for Nicholas Morrow, along with the Kobe Dean. He's flashed, continued to flash thus far. That's a good sign for him. Sidney Brown getting work with the twos. And a lot of people think that may be only a matter of time before he gets his opportunity here to get some reps. So that's a good thing too with both of those guys. I'm not surprised. Ellis, as soon as he got called up from the practice squad last year, contributed both special teams and when he got a couple chances here and there on the defense. So that one makes some sense to me. And I think they like him. I really do. He's got good size.
Well, compare to who's in front of him, Morrow, who's 6'1", 215. Ellis is 6'3", like 240. So depending on what the coaches decide they need from that weak side position will determine who starts. And I said back in early June, I thought Ellis was going to push him for the starting job. I didn't think it was just going to be given tomorrow. Based on his tackle numbers coming out of Chicago, I want to see the film. How many of those tackles were down the field, were beyond the line of scrimmage, which, we knew Chicago wasn't a good defense. How many big plays did he make? How many blow-up plays did he make? How many plays behind the line of scrimmage did he make? We don't know those numbers. So I just think that position, it's not a position that's talked much about. Sirianni hasn't been asked much about it, hasn't been much talk about it, but I think that position is wide open. And don't be surprised if Christian Ellis wins the starting job.
Yeah, can be one to keep your eye on. That is for sure. All right, let's go back to what we talked about before we took a timeout, Derek. So if you were drafting right now, this isn't based on their history. This is based on importance right now. And you had to go 10 rounds. All right. You get 1 through 10. Yep. Why don't we go back and forth, you and I? I want everybody to chime in here on the chat as well with your order. Okay. I think it's pretty obvious where everybody's going first, right?
Yep. So Sippos. Yep.
I was going to go Rick Lovato, the long snapper. So I got him. He's mine. You can't take him. No. All right. So if we're all in agreement, Jalen Hurts is 1, right? All right. We're all in agreement. So we can move to 2. Who would you take second overall?
Number 2, I gotta protect my quarterback, and nobody better to protect my quarterback than Lane Johnson. You look at what he's done the last couple of years, hasn't given up a sack. I gotta have my right tackle in line, and Lane Johnson is my number 2.
Me too. I think he's the best tackle in football. So, and he's great against the pass, great in pass protection. He's great in run protection. He hasn't given up a sack since 21. I think it was that long ago since he gave up a sack. He appears to be on even more of a mission coming back from that injury this year. I loved when the Eagles Unscripted episode, the first one this year, where he was up there talking and getting emotional. And I just think this guy's the realest of real deals. So I would take him number 2. I see a lot of folks. We interesting. Christopher goes Kelsey. Mm-hmm. All right. Let's see. Who do we have? We have Danny D goes Lane. So that's interesting. Christopher Reyes. Yes. All right. Give me your number 3 then, and we'll get into the
my number 3 is Kelsey. I need a center where everything is fluid between me and my quarterback. When you have an elite center, it's almost like having a second quarterback in front of you. Well, he steps to the line of scrimmage. He sees what they're trying to do. He sees the alignment. He's as smart as anybody in the game in terms of making line call adjustments. He has proven that the undersized center can survive and thrive in the National Football League. I think he's going to be a Hall of Famer. There's a reason he's still here. As much as the Eagles might feel good about Cam Jurgens waiting in the wings to take over, they feel even more comfortable that a future Hall of Famer is setting the line play for them. So I put Kelce at number 3.
Okay. I put Kelce as 3 too. And look, I could sit here and change up my list to try to, have you and I sound different here, but I think he's the best center in football. When you're the best player at your position, how am I not taking you, in my top 3 or top 4 on any team? With his ability to get out in space, his ability to pass block, what you just said in terms of looking at protection packages. I thought it was really interesting. Who was it? I'm trying to remember which running back it was. They were asked yesterday. Oh God, I got to find the quote because I thought it was a great quote and I meant to bring it up with you. It was so interesting. The running backs were asked, what do you need to get better at or something like that. Right. And who are you listening to? And I forget who it was said, I got to just listen to, I tell every running back and every player on our team, just listen to Kelce. That's what I tell them to do.
Yep.
Which tells you all you need to know in terms of that.
No question.
Yeah. All right. Number 4. Who was your number? So Christopher says Fletcher Cox is your number 3. Okay.
Okay. All right.
That's not crazy. It's not.
No.
Who's your number?
My number 4, I need to get some pressure on the quarterback, and finding an elite edge rusher is hard to find in the National Football League for all the talented players. When you talk about elite pass rushers, it's hard to find. I need Hassan Reddick coming off the edge at number 4.
Yep.
And for the reason we talked about early in the show when we were talking about his contract, the fact that this man has had double-digit sacks with 3 consecutive teams, and he comes in here, struggles early on, and trying to figure out exactly how to utilize his assets better. And then once they realize just leave him where he is and let him go, is when he really took off. Nobody put more pressure on that team than a Hassan Reddick. So I put Hassan Reddick at number 4.
Yeah. When you're talking about a guy who affects the game like that, you can make an argument that behind Hurts, Reddick affects the game second most of any Eagle because of the way that he gets to the quarterback, because of the amount of forced fumbles, because of the fumble recoveries, because of the near sacks, which makes a guy throw the ball a little bit quicker. The pressures, the hits, the balls that you have to be thrown away, the amount of attention you have to give him, whether that's a tackle and a running back, a tackle and a tight end, which should free somebody else up. I have him at 4 also, Derek, and you can make a case that he would be number 2 in a lot of ways.
Here we go. Simpatico again.
The football brain that's shared.
Yeah.
But no, I think that's the case. And Chris D was asking, are we doing both sides of the ball? Yes, we're doing both sides of the ball, Chris. So I think Reddick absolutely belongs there. Here's where this is, I think when we get like 5 through 10 is where it really gets interesting. Depending on, and what it shows is how you prioritize building a team. But all right, who's your number 5?
In this day and age of the passing game, as we know it, I need a sure-handed pass catcher, so I have to put A.J. Brown. You look at the history that Jalen Hurts has with A.J., it was quite obvious last year that who the number 1 receiver was for Jalen Hurts in go-to situations. A.J. is not just a good wide receiver. He's a big physical body. You can't knock him off routes. He goes up and gets the 50-50 balls. He extends the body, fearless in extending the body to make the tougher catches. Has good speed after the catch. Arm tackles don't bring him down. He makes the quarterback look really good. The yards after the catch, so on and so forth. Even his blocking ability at the age of 25 is up there. It's exceptional. So I took A.J. Brown at number 5.
All right, good choice. I debated that too. I debated him there at that spot. I went Bradbury simply because it's become such a prolific passing league, and that could make your point with Brown. But I'm going to go on the other side that you have to be able to stop some of these guys. And what he showed me last year was that he was that guy that we thought he was previously in Carolina. It just got bad at the end with New York. He's the best corner that they have. He's better than Slay. I'm not going to go as far as to say he's a complete shutdown corner. No, I'm not going to say that. But I will tell you, he is an excellent cornerback. He's not afraid to be physical. You can put him on the other team's best guy on an island, and he can handle himself. So I would I'm a big Bradbury fan, so I'm going to put Bradbury at number 5.
Okay.
Yeah. How about you? Who's your 6?
Well, who's a quarterback's best friend on a football team?
Whoever can get to the quarterback.
Nah.
No?
Quarterback's best friend
Oh,
is the left
cornerback.
tackle.
I thought you said quarter.
Quarterback.
I'm sorry.
No, quarter. Quarterback's best friend is the left tackle.
Blind
So
side. If you're a righty, it's the left tackle. Yeah,
absolutely. And Malata, imposing specimen. He has really come a long way in a short amount of time. He's already mentioned as one of the best left tackles in the game. Anybody who's 6'8", 345 pounds that can move like that man and block out the sun, that's an exceptional athlete right there.
Yep.
And he's parlayed that into a nice little contract. He's gone from a guy you thought was just a novelty story to now being a frontline story because of his ability to do what he's done in a short amount of time. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I put Malata at number 6.
Good choice. Yeah, hard to argue a left tackle. I think the other thing too is we didn't see him at his best last year. I think he was dealing with that shoulder all year. He didn't use it as an excuse.
No, he didn't.
But you watch, he's going to be better than what you saw last year. So good choice there. This is where I plug AJ Brown in. I mean, look, the guy, what I love about him too is he can be the down the field threat. We saw that in the Super Bowl. He can be the slant, break a tackle, break another tackle. He's great after the catch. He's built like a tank. Strong. He can do anything really on the field. There isn't any kind of limitation to his game, and clearly there's a great chemistry with him and Jalen that goes back a ways, and those two love working with each other. I think he's a gamer. I think he's tough. He's a blocker. He isn't your typical quarterback that doesn't want to get involved. I'm a big fan.
I agree.
Tone, you want to get involved? I see Tone throwing the cans on on my little special viewer that I have. Tone to Shields, what's happening, Tone?
What's going on, fellas? What I want to do, I want to let you guys finish your list, and then I'll fill in the gaps after that.
You want to okay? All right. So let's finish ours, and then Tone will give us his. All right. Okay. So where are we? 7?
We're at 7.
7. Go ahead.
7 is where I put Bradbury. You need a pass catcher, and you also need a body who can defend. And James Bradbury is that long body, like 6'1", 6'2", who can get up there. He can play press coverage. He can play off. He's got the speed to make up the difference. He was one of the better corners in the National Football League last year in terms of defending the pass. And, of course, quarterback's completion percentage against him last year was low. That's all I need to hear. I'm not going to put him in a category of a shutdown corner, but I do think he was the most consistent, efficient corner that the Eagles had, and one of the most efficient, consistent corners in all the National Football League last year. So I put Bradbury at number 7.
All right, good choice. I'm going to go Devontae. This is where Devontae comes into it for me because I think he's still getting better. I think, you look at his ability, his footwork is impeccable. If you watch any of the video of him, in terms of routes, this guy was clearly coached up, from a young age very well. He's a technician. He's tough. The biggest thing we worried about is his ability to stay healthy and stay on the field. He's a tough dude. There isn't anything not to like about Devontae Smith. And I think considering how young he is, he's just getting better and better and better. So I have him in there as my number 7.
Okay.
All right. Who's your 8?
My number 8 is Devontae Smith. I need a quality number 2 receiver. Very few football teams have, you see year in and year out, have 2,000-yard receivers. Devontae has come a long way. You look at, he had almost 1,000 yards his rookie campaign. He surpassed that mark the second year. I thought his route running got better his second year. His tenacity, it goes unquestioned in terms of the big hits he took and was able to hold on to the football. Yak yards after the catch were respectable, sure-handed, not afraid to go over the middle. I love everything about Devontae Smith, and I still think there's plenty of room for him to get better. So I put him at number 8.
Okay. All right. 8 is where I go Josh Sweat, who, again, I think sort of found himself last year. It took a while. He was hurt. He's gotten better and better and better. He finally got over that double-digit, marker for him, which I think is good for him just from a mindset standpoint. He knows he can do it now. This guy has had he was the most talented guy coming out of high school when he entered Florida State. And I think we're starting to see it now. Now it's really starting to pay off for him. I'm a big believer in him. I love the fact that you have him on the opposite side of Hassan Reddick. Yeah. He's a great guy for the young guys to learn off of. They have him on a good contract too, because they locked him up before he had the explosion year. I'm going Josh Sweat all day in that spot.
Okay. All right.
Yep. We're at 9. You got 9.
Number 9, I need an infusion. As NFL teams try to get younger year in and year out, I need an infusion of youth on this team. So I put Jalen Carter at number 9.
Ooh, okay.
He was one of the top 2 ranked defensive players coming out of college this year. He's going to be here at least 4 years at the very minimum, unless something catastrophic happens between now and then. We have a lot of high expectations about him. We talk about how many sacks do you think he can get? How disruptive can he be? This team had gotten long in the tooth in a lot of ways. And you look at the primary players they're counting on in this defense, from Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, Darius Slay, James Bradbury. There's a lot of guys getting up there in years. You need an infusion of youth there. So I put Jalen Carter at number 9.
Okay, good choice. Interesting. All right, I'm going to go with my number 9, Fletcher Cox. Fletcher Cox, because despite I know everybody thinks he's overpaid. I know people think he's on the back 9. I would agree he's on the back 9. But in terms of importance for this team, he still got 7 sacks last year. You're really young in that interior. You need that veteran presence there. And not only I think is he still effective as a player, I think he's a good influence on the younger guys, the Jalen Carters, the Jordan Davises, the Milton Williams, et cetera. You need that anchor. And that anchor is there at number 9. So I'm going to go Fletcher. All right, number 10.
My number 10, I still need more of an infusion, so I went Nolan Smith. I think they got 2 steals in the draft. As I continue to build this team to get back to a Super Bowl, I also know that I can't continue to pay big money guys, because you're going to have a number of guys looking for big money after this season. So I need some guys that we can groom that will be instrumental in being rotational players, and hopefully give you not the same type of production that the guy in front of you is going to give you, but at least something close, and to be a student under a guy who does it at the highest level year in and year out. And I think with Nolan Smith being under the wing of Hassan Reddick and learning all the little nuances from Hassan Reddick, I think Nolan Smith is a perfect candidate. And again, I can't emphasize enough, we want to get younger. We want to get younger while we're still getting better. And I think Nolan Smith fits that category.
Okay. All right. Lastly, for my number 10, I'm going to go Dallas Goedert.
Okay.
Dallas Goedert. Look, a top 5 ability tight end who's probably only been held back by injuries. He can block. He's not one-dimensional like some of these guys. He can really do it all. If he stays healthy, I keep saying my biggest number for Dallas Goedert isn't 1,000 yards receiving. It's 17 games played. So I'm going to take Dallas Goedert all day as my number 10.
Okay.
All right. Tone, what do you got, man? Let's hear your list here.
First and foremost, I love you guys' lists. I think all those guys, you can't really go wrong either way, right?
I agree.
So obviously, like you guys said, obviously number 1, Jalen Hurts. I don't think that really requires any further explanation, right?
Yep.
Quarterback, he's on the upside, just signed that big deal, extremely valuable to this organization's future, right? Number 2, Lane Johnson. I think we all agree with that. Lane Johnson has been one of the best tackles in the NFL, arguably the best tackle in the NFL. He hasn't allowed a sack in God knows how long, right? He just plays the game with a physicality. He's one of the toughest mother effers on the field. Plays through any.
Did you just say mother effers? Did you really just say
plays through any and everything, right? I made sure I hit the bleep button for you, D-Gun. Don't worry. All right. Number 3, Jason Kelce, legend, Eagles legend, future Hall of Famer, just the consummate professional. Iron Man, hasn't missed a game in God knows how long. Same thing with Lane Johnson. Jordan Mailata. I got Jordan Mailata at number 4. And the reason I have him at number 4, and as you guys can see with my number 2 and my number 3, I take protecting my quarterback very seriously. And there's no way you can have a quarterback develop properly if he's not protected on his left side, his right side, and up the middle. So as you can see, I have 3 anchors, right? Number 5.
That's interesting. You went that high on that. I
have to. I look at it from this perspective. You have quarterbacks who never really reach their full potential because they're just not protected.
Yeah.
Also think about a guy like Joe Burrow, who has been very successful in this league despite having a terrible offensive line.
Yep.
So think about how much better he would be, how much healthier he would be if he had an offensive line that was actually competent. So yeah, I take protecting my, especially a young quarterback. I take protecting them so seriously. Number 5, Hassan Reddick. Now we're going on the defense side of the ball. Like I said, protecting the quarterback is very serious. Why? Because you have guys like Hassan Reddick who can take their arm off, aka Brock Purdy wings.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? You sprinkle a little Hassan sauce on there, and you see what happens, right? So Hassan Reddick. And
I thought you'd have him higher than that. For those reasons, but interesting. All right, okay.
Hassan Reddick, number 5. Number 6, AJ Brown. My quarterback needs to be able to throw the ball somewhere. Someone reliable, someone physical, someone who can beat any type of coverage, someone who can also win in the short, the intermediate, and the deep ball. Next, I have Devontae Smith at number 7. He needs that number 2. He needs another option. Your number 1 will eventually become double teamed, and you can't just force feed him the ball. So Devontae Smith, one of the best route runners, if not the best route runner in the NFL. Footwork tremendous, technique tremendous. He's an Iron Man as well, can take any and every hit. One of the best sideline catchers in the NFL. Some of his best highlights in the NFL has been on the sideline. I think he has better footwork than AJ Brown, but AJ Brown is just a better physical specimen. And number 8, I have James Bradbury. Notice I didn't put Darius Slay above James Bradbury. And a lot of people may say, well, how are you doing that? Big Play Slay is that guy, right? He's more talented. Yes, he's more talented, but I believe James Bradbury just has a lot more left in the gas tank right now. Also, James Bradbury was a second-team All-Pro last year. Darius Slay wasn't an All-Pro last year by the Associated Press by the Associated Press standards. James Bradbury, he should have been on the NFL Top 100, but that's another conversation for another day. I think James Bradbury is just someone who's very reliable, very steady, does his job, is hardly in the wrong place. And he's made actually big plays at key moments for the Philadelphia Eagles last year. He had an interception in the playoffs on Daniel Jones. He also had an interception in that Jags game that was very crucial. The Jags were driving down the field. Yep. He's made big plays in big moments.
I don't think it's much question. He's better than Slay, but anyway,
right.
Yeah.
Number 9. I know Derek Gunn said that a quarterback's best friend is his left tackle. I beg to differ. The left tackle is his most important friend, but his best friend is his tight end, and that's Dallas Goedert. Any young quarterback that's coming up, they have a reliable tight end to help them develop. Lamar Jackson had Mark Andrews.
Hey, look, man, he can't get the ball to the tight end if he's getting popped in the back every other play.
Notice words matter. I said the left tackle is his most important friend, but his best friend is his tight end, right? When all things break down, he's looking for that tight end. The tight end can catch the ball. He can protect you. And a guy like Dallas Goedert, he's very versatile. All he has to do is stay healthy. Like Rob said, top 5 talent, but bottom 5 health. So all he has to do is just stay healthy, and he'll be good to go. So that was my number 9. My number 10. Now I'm banking on upside with this. Normally I tread very lightly with rookies because you don't know what they can do yet in the NFL. But my number 10 is Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter, he is the future of his defensive line. Right, him and Jordan Davis, but Jalen Carter is my number 10 because what we know from him is he arguably was the top talent, the best pound-for-pound talent in the draft, in the 2023 NFL draft. Now, really quickly, I have 2 honorable mentions because it was so hard for me to do this. My honorable mentions were Darius Slay at number 11 and Landon Dickerson at number 12. Again, I take protecting my quarterback very, very seriously. Justin Fields, he was running for his life. No one protected him. Early in Daniel Jones' career and arguably still now, no one to protect him. Like I said, Joe Burrow, no one to protect him. If you can protect your quarterback and he has all the time in the world to make decisions, you will actually further his development, in my opinion, rather than stunt his development. And Darius Slay at 11, like I said, man, even though he's on the back 9, if you have 2 lockdown corners and James Bradbury and Darius Slay, you can do a lot of damage and go very far in the NFL and also in the playoffs.
Yep. Good, man. Good list, guys. Like, I think that where it starts to really get interesting is you get past Hurts and Lane and Kelsey and all that. Like, anywhere from 4 to 10 is fascinating, depending on how you look at it and what you prioritize. But it's all cool, man. It's all fun. This is what it's all about. This is what it's all about. Like, this is the fun part of sports. This is the kind of thing you do with your buddies where you sit down and you're debating it, you're arguing, you're going back and forth on one another. And this is what I love. And I think it's the great thing about what we do. It's a great thing about sports talk. You can have these kind of debates, man, and we'll see. Look, time's going to tell this year in priority.
Quick question: do you guys have any honorable mentions outside of your top 10? Any 1 or 2 guys that you probably struggled with and they were borderline?
Yeah, I struggled where to put Goddard. Okay, but I had to prioritize number 1. the relevance of what was most important, number one, and number two, in this day and age where teams are trying to get better, the Eagles had a rare luxury of having 2 first-round picks, and they got 2 players that were considered primetime players that nobody expected them to still be on the board. I mean, when we watched the draft, Rob and I did the draft show together, we kept saying there's no way Jalen Carter is going to slip to 9, 10, or 11. All of a sudden, Eagles move up, boom, he's there. We kept saying for the rest of the round, there's no way Nolan Smith is still going to be on this board at number 30. There's no way. And sure enough, he's sitting right there. Yeah. So they got 2 players that could be starters for this team next year. Well, Carter, we believe, is going to be the starter this year. But you got 2 players coming from a national championship team that are going to be starters next year for this team.
Yeah.
So that makes Howie's decision even tougher, because now he has to look at it like, okay, if they live up to expectation, Howie can say, look, I didn't think I would have to do this, but I can afford to let so-and-so go now and clear even more cap space because of what this guy has done on a rookie deal.
Right. And the one that stands out would be Fletcher, but we'll see. But yeah, I'll tell you who my close but no cigar guys were, Tone. For starters, I thought about Slay. He is going to be, as much as I think Bradbury's the best corner, he's still a guy who makes a big impact, is going to be critical to their success this year.
Right.
So I thought about him. I didn't really know what to do with the rookies, frankly, because I have high expectations for Carter. I really do. And I love Nolan Smith. I love him, but I don't know yet with those guys. So to put him in a 10 for me, I can't quite do that yet. Like they're definitely in consideration, both of those guys, and
I totally get it.
You could also like Landon Dickerson was in the Pro Bowl last year, so it's like, we didn't even bring him up. And I know guard is not what tackle is, but still.
Right. Did you guys notice how offensive heavy our lists were? Did you guys notice
very
that?
heavy, very heavy, and no linebacker, no safety. And that's kind of the way the Eagles prioritize. Frankly,
Absolutely.
when you talk about pay, those positions don't get paid. No, and we didn't have any running backs in there.
That's true. Right. A real quick factoid: did you guys know the Eagles, and when it comes to their total cap space, over 50%, I believe, between 40 and 50% of their cap is dedicated strictly to offensive line and defensive line.
Yeah.
That's the way
they're all about the trenches, man.
Inside out. That's the way they build. That's their model. That's been their model for years, even going back to before the 2017 season. That's how they like to build this team.
Yeah. Yeah. The only area that philosophy has changed, and I'm going back 25-ish years, maybe longer. Actually, he was longer. But at one point in time, they were willing to pay like Ricky Waters a ton of money, right? Back in the day, 95, whatever that was. That's way long gone. They prioritize tackle. They did it with Runyon. They paid him a ton in free agency. They drafted Trey Thomas high, and they've done that kind of thing for years. Same thing with the defense. Like Fletcher Cox got 14 last year and 10 this year at his age. That's how much they still prioritize the defensive tackle spot. Man. $24 million in the last 2 years for Fletcher Cox. So
plus this organization has told you that we don't need a workhorse running back.
Nope.
You go back to 17, they brought in LeGarrette Blount, they brought in Jay Ajayi during the season. They had a rookie named Corey Clement. It worked fine for them. Everything they wanted, they got. Same thing last year. Even though Miles Sanders was the lead back, it was him. It was Gainwell. Gainwell was a primary back in the latter part of the season. How do you go away from a 1,200 yard back in the playoffs and the Super Bowl?
Right.
So that tells you what they think about the running back.
Yeah.
It's you know what it does, right? But it's not wrong. Like it's. In my opinion, look,
for them.
Right. If these guys get hurt, yes, they're opening themselves up for criticism, right? If both of those guys go down like they have a lot of times in their career and say Gainwell and Boston Scott are struggling, have at it with them. But what they've done, their philosophy has worked for them. And they also know they have a quarterback who, let's face it, is in all likelihood is going to get you 600, 700 yards on the ground himself, right? So are you really going to pay a running back that much money, especially when you're paying AJ, what you're going to have to pay Devontae Smith, what you're paying Jalen Hurts, what you're paying your offensive line, what you're already paying Goddard? Something's got to give somewhere.
Yeah, you're better off. You're better off having a plethora of complimentary backs.
Exactly.
Guys that kind of like, you ever see those posts or whatever where, they say, you'll have Alvin Kamara's speed, and you'll have Derrick Henry's strength, and you're crafting, you're building the perfect running back or whatever. That's kind of what these teams are doing now. They're kind of taking all these different traits from different running backs.
It doesn't have to be one guy,
and it doesn't have to really be one guy. And you guys brought up a great point about the Jai and LeGarrette Blount and Corey Clement combination. Corey Clement was the scat back, the guy that was able to get things done in the passing game. Jai was that one cut elusive back. Didn't really have the greatest speed, but he was elusive and he knew how to maneuver in between the tackles. And then you had LeGarrette Blount, who was just the bruiser, the pounder. He was a big play guy too. People forget about that. I think
he was a block guy. That's what Penny should be. He's more than that, but I mean, one of the things Penny should be is you got a lead and you want to just milk clock, hand the ball off to Rashad Penny. You should be able to do that.
Yeah, real quick. This is the closest combination of running backs that they've had to that Super Bowl season in terms of running back style. Last year, they didn't really have a power back that they could lean on. Yeah. Now you have Penny and Swift. And the biggest question with those guys is health. And if they can find a way to keep them healthy, that running back room is going to be more dangerous than what people think. It's a far cry. You're rolling the dice, but it's very possible.
No doubt. No doubt. Tone, good stuff, dude.
If Tennessee loses Derrick Henry, it's a severe drop-off in the running game.
Right.
Josh Jacobs to the Raiders. Jonathan Taylor to Indy. You lose Penny here, you still have Swift. You lose Swift, you have Gainwell. You lose Gainwell, you have Scott. They don't care who's running the ball because the system will not change. And all four of those guys, well, two of them we know for a fact have been productive in this system, and we're anticipating the productivity of the two guys they brought in who have proven commodities elsewhere in the National Football League. Mm-hmm. That's why, it doesn't make a difference who's behind the line of scrimmage for this team running the football. It's going to have success because of those guys up front.
I agree with you. Look, the Giants need Saquon Barkley more than the Eagles would need a Saquon Barkley. Right? Absolutely. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
The Titans need Derrick Henry more than the Eagles need it. Not to say the Eagles wouldn't want those guys, but those teams with their quarterback situation need that quarterback or that running back more than the Eagles do. That's for sure. All right, let's get a quickie in here, Derek. Let's swing it back to the Eagles for the Phillies for the next segment. Then we are going to go with coaches on the hot seat. Our greatest series continues with the Jaguars and all kinds of stuff in our football segment at 2:00. So you don't want to go anywhere. That's Derek Gunn. I am Rob Ellis. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Let's talk about Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group, because knowing who to trust with your finances is critical, right? You work too hard not to have your money invested the right way, the proper way, the way that will take care of you and your family. It took me a long time to find the right person. I finally did, and that's Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group. Whether it's retirement planning, 401k review, insurance review, you're trying to start up a business, right? And you're trying to figure out how to get your employee benefits off the ground, and you're not exactly sure how to do that. Well, that's another resource that Jim can help you with. I've entrusted my IRA, my 401k rollovers with Jim, and I couldn't be any happier. You will be too. Give him a call, 610-996-4751, 610-996-4751. You could also email him, Murray, MURRAY .jim@principal.com. That's murray.jim@principal.com.
Heading down the shore, have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wild wood days.
score and save in southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer 3 major services, the first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
EAGLES, Eagles.
What is up, everybody? Thanks for hanging. That handsome man is Derek Gunn.
Oh, stop it.
Just like you wrote it. I am Rob Ellis. Good to be hanging with you on this Wednesday, Derek. So, 2 big stories yesterday. Obviously, there were a lot of Eagle storylines because they had the pads on yesterday and whatnot. But the Phillies, we were tracking while we were in show if they were going to do anything, make any moves. They didn't make any moves in show for us. It happened a little bit later, closer to the deadline at 6 o'clock. So if you didn't get a chance to see it, they got Michael Lorenzen from the Tigers. Now, good pitcher, a guy who's been around a while, kind of found himself a little bit later in his career. When he was with Cincinnati, it was a little bit of a struggle for him, Derek, at times. He was kind of a tweener. What I mean by that is he was an excellent two-way player in college. He played at Cal State Fullerton. Was an outfielder. He actually won the John Olerud Award for his hitting and his pitching. But it took him a little while to really find himself. And one of the reasons the Phillies were interested in him in the offseason, and they couldn't promise him a spot in the starting rotation. He wanted to be a starter. He didn't want to be a reliever anymore. He went to the Angels 2 years ago to be a starter, and then he went to Detroit. That's why he chose the Tigers in the offseason because he wanted to be a starter. And, hard to blame the guy. And he did well. He bet on himself, and it paid off. I wouldn't pay much attention to the record at 5-7 because Detroit's not a good team. But he has a 3.58 ERA, which is very good in this day and age, especially with the amount of runs that are being scored. A 1.10 WHIP, which is good. He's at 105 and 2/3 innings, which his career high is 113. He's going to shatter that this year. Yep. Strikeout walk ratio is good, 83-27. He's having a very good year, and he's actually really, really picked it up of late for Detroit, for a bad team. So what he provides for them is potentially a 6th starter. So you can stretch these guys out. Baseball's kind of going to this later in the season as a way to not exhaust these guys. It applies a little bit more to the Phillies because they had such a long run last year. And you saw it took Wheeler a while to get going. Nola's really never found his rhythm. So you're adding him. This also works if somebody goes down. If, let's say, for example, Christopher Sanchez starts to struggle. Now, he's been awesome, but if that starts to happen, then you're in good shape. You can also use him now for multiple innings in relief, either down the stretch or in the playoffs, which is what you need sometimes. Your starter struggling. Yeah, yep. You get him out and you could bring Lorenzen in. So there's a lot of things he can do for you. The disappointing part is they didn't get a bat, in my opinion. But I like Lorenzen. I just wish they got a bat too.
I don't think they need a bat. This is on them. No, there's no more excuses for this offense. Now, the big money guys came through last night, and as I said off the top of the show, they need to be more consistent with that. It's on them. And I think Dombrowski has sent a message to them. Hey, look, we added Trey Turner. We felt that all we needed was a Trey Turner. He hasn't been productive the way he should. You can look up and down this line and in the top 5 spots in the order, and the guys have not been consistently productive. There's not one of them, other than Castellanos, and he had a tailspin for a while.
Oh, yeah.
You have not been consistently productive. This is on you guys. There's too much money invested in this. I'm not bringing in another, big-name hitter just to bail you guys out. This is on you. You did it last year when it counted most. I expect you to do the same thing this year. But when it comes to the pitching, and this is a pitching staff that should be a lot more competitive than it's been in a lot of ways. And I mean, starting pitching. Suarez last night, you talk about having a rabbit's foot in his pocket. You know, Marlins left 11 men on base. He gave up only 1 run, but he gave up 10 hits.
You know what it is, Derek? It's kind of game we'd be killing the Phillies for if they had that many hits and left that many on. Yeah,
exactly. The Marlins killed themselves, hitting themselves out of innings. You know, they didn't produce. That game shouldn't have been a 3. It could not have been. It could have been like a 6-1, 6-3 type game in favor of the Marlins had they produced with these guys on base. They didn't. You know, we've talked about this. Suarez has not been the same pitcher in July that he was in June. Aaron Nola, rest in peace. You know, I think we can write his eulogy. He's just going to give you what he's going to give you every other game.
You're rest in peacing him.
I'm rest in peace. You know, you get people, you get people fired. I give them rest in peace.
I just get him fired. You kill him.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, Wheeler hasn't been that dominant pitcher. You know, Walker, first pitcher to 12 wins, and I have concerns about him over his last couple of outings.
Yeah. So
we need to have some more stability in this rotation, in this bullpen.
Yep.
And this guy can give you a start, or like you just said, he can be that long middle reliever as well. Mm-hmm. So that's when we debated this for a couple of days. I said it has to be pitching, has to be priority to this team because it's a little unsettling to look at what these guys have given you. You know, Kimber was lights out for June. In his last several outings, we're going, wait a minute, has he hit the wall? You know, so anything you can do to help take some of the pressure off some of these guys' arms, maybe shorten up their stints, which would make them more effective, especially with the high velocity guys that you have on the back end of this pitching staff. It did exactly what I thought they would do.
Right. Yeah. Listen, I don't come away from this upset. I don't, because I really like the Lorenzen move. I do, because of the power issues right now. I'm worried a little bit, but like we've talked about a lot, Derek, if your studs don't play like studs, it really won't matter anyway. It won't matter. If Trey Turner continues down this path, it's going to be really hard for the Phillies. If Castellanos, last night was great, but if Castellanos looks like he's looked since the All-Star break, excluding last night, it's going to be really hard.
Yep.
You know, Harper's been money. I refuse to beat up Harper. The power's not there. That's the unfortunate thing. And you combine that with Hoskins not being there, you take a little hit in that department, right?
If Harper sprang the field and now putting him over the fence, I have no problem with that. He's still being productive.
Right.
You know, he's moving base runners. He's driving in base runners. I have no problem with Harper.
Yeah.
Yes, we want to see him hit the long ball more frequently. We got spoiled last year. It's not happening for him for whatever the reason. It's not happening for him now. As long as he's putting the ball in play and moving runners, that's all I care about.
Agreed. So look, all in all, so the way things are with the win last night, and again, it was nice, good job out of the bullpen to kind of keep you alive here, et cetera. So where you stand as we go into tonight, and they've taken the first 2 in Miami, which is huge too, by the way, because you're separating yourself from them. Phillies are a half game back of the Giants right now for the first wild card spot. Milwaukee is right there. Milwaukee's 58-50. Phillies are 58-49. So they're a half game up on them. The Marlins are a game back. The Diamondbacks are a game back. Cubs are 3.5 back. That's who you have to worry about. And just keep your eye on the Padres. I wouldn't totally write off the Padres yet.
Keep your eyes on the Cubs also.
Definitely keep your eyes on the Cubs for sure. But it was interesting, and we'll get into this a little bit more later, Derek. There weren't, other than the Mets who went into fire sale mode with Scherzer and Verlander who went back to the Astros, if you didn't hear that. You know, like there weren't giant names. Ohtani didn't go anywhere.
No.
Arenado, Goldschmidt. I'm trying to think of some of the other big names. Soto. None of those guys changed teams. So either the asking price was insanity or they really weren't shopping them, you know, one way or the other. So I'm not mad at Dave Dombrowski. I think he added some pieces. They also got the kid Rudolfo Castro, Bailey Falter, who is a switch hitting middle infielder with speed. And you know what his claim to fame is, right? It's not one you want, but he played a game with a cell phone in his pocket and slid in his back pocket and slid into third base, and it popped out. And the Pittsburgh folks were none too happy with Rudolfo. I'll just put it that way.
No,
he had a mistake won't come again. Yeah,
he had to sit a game because of that. You know, I mean, one game doesn't make that much of a difference in baseball when you play 162. But hopefully he's learned his lesson from that. You know, first of all, Why do you have a phone in the dugout?
Yeah,
Why is it even in the dugout, let alone your back pocket?
What are we doing here?
Hey, man, it's this new age sports world we live in, man.
I know. All right, so that's kind of where things are Philly-wise. And like I said, you have Wheeler tonight. Lorenzen will pitch tomorrow in the afternoon game, which is the series finale. So then they come back here for Kansas City. They should absolutely take 2 out of 3, if not a sweep.
Yes.
And then beyond that, the schedule for the most part, I think, is in favor. By the way, they have, I believe it's 53% of their remaining games are home, for what it's worth. But they're home against Kansas City for 3, home against Washington for 4, home against the Twins for 3. So you have a nice little homestand here going from Friday all the way down until the following Sunday. You're home for all of those games. So it's right in front of you, Phillies. You can start to solidify yourself a little bit more here.
Well, they have to do 2 things. Number one, they have to have better play at home, which they've been very average at home.
Agreed.
And number 2, they have got to stop playing down to the level of their talent. For whatever reason, they have problems with the bottom teams.
Yeah.
For whatever the case may be, Pittsburgh's a prime example. There's no way they should have lost 2 out of 3 to Pittsburgh.
Never.
Absolutely. And now you got Kansas City. You got all the teams you want right in front of you to enhance your record, to put some heat on that wild card spot. I got to see it. They should smoke Kansas City. They should.
They should.
But
Jim G is right. 7 of their last 10 against the Mets team that will be completely checked out at that point. I mean, tee times will be made, vacation, where are we going to the beach, all that good stuff.
Did you see the numbers on the Mets now? The Mets now are paying former players that they've traded recently a total of $153.1 million. The players left in the roster, they're paying $150. So,
oh my God,
they're paying guys who aren't on the team, and those are the big money guys, more than the entire roster left behind. And then Scherzer came out and said basically he was told the Mets have now said that they are building their next big push will be 2025. They're already leapfrogging past 2024 into 25.
Oh my God. Wow. Yeah, that's
what a hot mess.
So Scherzer was like, he went to the GM and he was like, all right, what's going on here? Or is this just a bad year? We're going to try and just, regroup here or whatever. And the GM's like, yeah, we're probably looking at like 24, 20 or 2025. And he was like,
what?
Okay, I'll waive the no trade. Send me to Texas.
Get me out of here. Yep.
And then Verlander, I'm sure Scherzer had a conversation with Verlander, like, dude, get out of there. Get out of there. And he's going back to Houston, which is a great spot for him. And speaking of, how about Vromber Valdez throws a no last night? Jeez. 93 pitches. Jeez. That is efficient, man.
Who was that against, the Guardians?
Yeah, but you want to hear something crazy too, Derek? A crazier stat? I couldn't believe this. I said this to you during the pre-show. The Astros as an organization have 16 no-hitters.
Yes.
16 no-hitters as an and I think they came into expansion in 65, something like that.
Yeah. Yep.
That's crazy.
You want to hear another stat? Look, the Guardians, former Cleveland Indians,
right,
have not had a pitcher throw a no-hitter since 1981.
Oh my God.
But since 2021, they've now had 4 no-hitters thrown against them.
Wow. Maybe we shouldn't be surprised about last night then, I guess. There's your moral to the story, kids. Okay. Good stuff. All right, let's come back with some football, and we're going to look at coaches on the hot seat, Derek, and then we are going to continue our greatest series, and it will be the Jacksonville Jaguars when we come back. All right, don't go anywhere. That's Derek Gunn. I'm Rob Ellis on this Wednesday on Sports Take. All right, let's talk about Pro Action Restoration because, look, you get flooding, you get, unfortunately, fire, smoke damage, you find some mold, you don't know what to do with that, and you got to make sure that you take care of it the right way. This is not something that you want to just sort of scrape by and Band-Aid. No, you got to get it done right. Pro Action Restoration is the place that you turn to. The beauty is Pro Action Restoration is on call 24 hours, 7 days a week to assist you. So it doesn't matter what time of day, holiday, weekend, whatever, they are there for you. I know this for a fact because I went through it on a Saturday at my parents' house, and they got right out. They cleaned up the problem. The crew was professional. The price was right. It was I mean, as good of an experience as you could possibly have under the circumstances. They are licensed, bonded, fully insured. They've been serving the tri-state area for more than 2 decades. ProAction will work in conjunction with your insurance company. So again, could be water, fire, smoke damage, mold remediation, you name it. They can handle it. Give them a call, 610-623-3760, 610-623-3760, or online at proactionrestoration.com. That's proactionrestoration.com.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
For the big story on Action News,
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction, go with trust,
Go Birds!
and go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
All right, did you know I was the mommy slam dunk champion?
Really?
Yes, really, don't sound so surprised.
Let's see it.
Oh, you're ready. All right, here we go. Let's hear the crowd. So go to right, I go to left, fake a mom. Mama, go up, mama!
She did it.
Again? You can't avoid gravity, but United Healthcare can help you avoid financial surprises by helping you compare costs and doctor quality ratings. United Healthcare.
Uh-huh. EAGLES. Eagles.
Back. What's up, everybody? That's Derek. I'm Rob. We're Sports State, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Let's hit that like button if we could, friends. And remember, if you miss any of the show, any of our interviews, anything, just go to jakibsports.com. You can always check it out, or JAKIB Sports YouTube channel for our shows. You can watch them in their entirety or portions. And we appreciate how many folks go back and either watch more of the show, or if you're at work, you get a chance to jump on and check it out during your workouts, whatever the case may be. We do appreciate you. All right, NFL. I don't know. I started thinking about this morning, Derek, based off of some of the back and forth with Sean Payton and Nathaniel Hackett and the Jets and all that. So what I mean by that is I don't think that Sean Payton's on a hot seat if the Denver Broncos don't win a Super Bowl or get to the playoffs. He's taking over a mess, right? But one of Aaron Rodgers' theories was actually twofold. Payton put this out there, one, to deflect everything off of Russell Wilson, which I totally think is the case, right? Number one. Number two, the other reason that this is what Payton said is Sean Payton's sort of setting up things if he has a downfall, if they aren't as good this year as people anticipate. In other words, Payton would be saying, hey, what do you want me to do? I inherited a total mess last year. It's going to take me a while to fix this thing. Again, this is Aaron Rodgers' theory, okay, that he put out there. Nonetheless, there's pressure on Payton. When you take that gig, when you were as highly courted as he was, when you have Russell Wilson, when you have everything that goes into the way this year played out, there's pressure on this guy. Okay. So let's take a look at the coaches that have the most pressure on them in the NFL. Let's start with the AFC. Okay. I'll throw some names. You tell me if you agree or disagree, Derek, and then feel free to add if I missed anybody in your estimation. Okay. I know he just signed a contract extension, but Sean McDermott 100% is under a lot of pressure in Buffalo to get this thing right, because they've been close but no cigar now for what, 3-ish, 4 years, somewhere around there. You have a lot of talent. You have Josh Allen. You have Stephon Diggs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think McDermott absolutely has pressure on him.
Buffalo's won their division 3 consecutive years. When you have one of the elite quarterbacks in the game, is surrounded by talent, rugged offensive line, rugged defense, one of the better defenses in the league, you have to have a better showing. That's why I was shocked Buffalo gave him the extension when they did. This would have been a prove-it year for me with McDermott.
Me too.
Obviously, that tells you how much they think of him. For McDermott, now he has a built-in parachute. Even let's say for whatever reason, when we talk about the strength of the AFC, outside of the only team we can really try to predict what's going to happen is Kansas City, because they've done it so consistently over the past couple of years. Now, unless they lose Patrick Mahomes and are hit with a slew of injuries, we expect Kansas City to be one of those teams there at the end, okay? But when you think about it, when it comes to anybody else in the AFC, as loaded as that conference is, there's always, hey, they could be pretty good, but. And Buffalo falls in that but category, because Miami's going to be stronger if Tua stays healthy. The Jets have gotten stronger on both sides of the football, okay? And even though we figure the Patriots are going to finish at the bottom of the division, the Patriots are going to hold their own because they have one of the better defenses in the National Football League.
Yeah.
So nothing's giving. When you've had 3 consecutive division titles and you have nothing to show for it, especially no Super Bowl appearance, I don't care what they give you, you are on a hot seat.
Agreed.
And so, but if they let's say Buffalo had a losing record this year and they decided to part ways with McDermott, well, now he has that financial parachute because they gave him an extension, so they got to pay him a percentage of that off, and he can sit like Doug Peterson did, sit back, regroup, rethink things before he's called upon again, and he will get another job based on what he's done in Buffalo. So yes, Sean McDermott, I've known him a long time. I love him. I have a lot of respect for him. He's definitely on the hot seat.
Same class act, but yeah, it's the reality is that. Let's stay in the AFC East. Look, Saleh goes into his 3rd year here, Derek, and he's got Aaron Rodgers now. It's not like you have the excuse, and it was a real one, that you don't have a quarterback. There's no Zach Wilson to blame. So if Rodgers, you go out and you get Rodgers, you do some of the other things they've done. They drafted extremely well. Like Joe Douglas gave him talent. That's for sure. He doesn't make the playoffs this year, he will be out. I have no doubt about that.
Let's see. He's in his 3rd year. You've got everything you want right now. The only thing that could save him is if they had an abundance of injuries. Outside of that, you've got pass catchers. You have depth at running back. You have one of the top 5 or 6 defenses in the league. There's no excuses for you not to excel. You got a future first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback. That's the one thing you were missing to get you over the hump. Okay, they went out and got it for you, and he cost you a pretty penny to get him in there.
Yeah,
well, didn't cost you what Denver had to pay to get Russell Wilson, but he cost you a pretty penny.
No doubt.
You better get in the playoffs, and even if you bowed out in the first round, you can say, well, you know what? Considering we haven't been in the playoffs in a while, you know what? At least we're trending in the right direction, and Aaron's already committed to staying here beyond 1 year. So we can build upon that. Let's look at the deficiencies we have that can get us past that first round in the playoffs this year, and hopefully we can take us all the way next year in 2024. Robert has to get to the playoffs this year.
Agreed. All right. So that's 2 out of the East. I'm not going to do the whole Belichick thing because I don't think if they end up finishing 9-7, Derek, 9-8, something like that, and they don't get in, I don't think Robert Kraft is going to fire the guy. I don't, but it's getting warmer, like where he may just say, all right, enough. But I think he's going to want to coach until he sets the all-time record there. But we'll see.
I think Belichick can ride off into the sunset when he wants. The only thing that could separate the two is if the rumors we're hearing is true, is that there's a little tension between the two. We don't know what's behind that. We don't know how true or or untrue those rumors are. But I think if they get to a point where they just had enough of each other bickering back and forth, that's when Belichick picks up his clipboard and his notepad and says, you know what, that's it, I'm done.
I agree. All right, staying in the AFC. Kevin Stefanski is on a hot seat. Some of this is not his fault. Some of this he can't control. Last year was a circus. When you bring in Deshaun Watson, I don't know that it was his call, but he's got to abide by his owner, who's not a great owner, in my opinion, Jim Haslam. But now that you have Watson in the system for a second year, you have some of the talent that you have on the other side of the ball, Myles Garrett, et cetera. You have a quality running back. They're in a tough division, but that's all excuses in terms of an owner, what he wants to hear. They should be a playoff team and I think a lot of people's estimation. So I think Stefanski is. What do you think?
Well, in his first year, Stefanski was a savior. He took that team to the playoffs in his first year. They hadn't been to a playoff game in a long time. But since then, that team has spiraled downward. They were 8-9 in 2021 and 7-10 last year. His playoff record is 1-1. His quarterback situation has been unstable, but they have everything else. You have one of the elite running backs in the game. You got a great pass catcher, Amari Cooper. The defense has spoken for itself. You have one of the best running backs in the game in Nick Chubb. Now, supposedly, your quarterback situation has leveled out. Deshaun Watson, who played only 6 games for you last year, has a full arsenal of your playbook now. You have streamlined that playbook to fit his talents, hopefully the same type of talents he displayed down in Houston. There can be no excuses. You can't use the buffer. Man, you're in a tough division. Well, if you're in a tough division, you got to be tough. You have to emerge as the toughest team out of that division. That's not going to be easy to do with the likes of Baltimore and Pittsburgh in there,
Yeah.
and Cincinnati, So you have to show that the money we're paying you is well worth it when we've given you what we think you need to get over that hump. He's definitely on the hot seat. 26-24 record in 3 years, especially after first year. You were the Pied Piper of Cleveland, taking that team to the playoffs. Got to get back to the playoffs. You have to get back to the playoffs.
Okay. I go Mike Vrabel next. You're talking about a team that's been successful for sure, but hasn't quite gotten, to the mountaintop yet, and took a step back last year. They sort of do it in an old school way that really isn't the NFL's model anymore, where it's, kind of pound the football, and there's some debate whether or not that can even work, if you can win that way anymore. And they go into this year with a lot of question marks at quarterback. You have Tannehill still there. You drafted Malik Willis 2 drafts ago, and now you take Will Levis. So, what is this exactly? You get DeAndre Hopkins, good get. You have Treylon Burks. So you have some receivers, but, you need to have a little showing here. And the other thing is, I love the Jags, but that's not a great division. So you're at a much greater advantage than you would be if you were in either the North or the East or even the West in the AFC.
I think going out and getting DeAndre Hopkins basically says from their perspective, we want a more diversified offense, a more unpredictable offense. A Mike Vrabel team on both sides of the football is going to be a physical team. They pride themselves in being physical on both sides of the football. But now that you have DeAndre to go along with Treylon Burks, you have to open it up more. And hopefully that helps Ryan Tannehill in a lot of areas. The old school style of football, the ground and pound, it got them to the playoffs a few times, but it can't get them. It couldn't get them much further. And I think this is a direct correlation to them realizing, we're too predictable. That's what's held us back. We're too predictable. And as you said, they're in a division where we think Jacksonville is the creme de la creme in that division, but Mike Vrabel has enough talent on that team to make some waves.
Yep, agreed. All right, so we talked about Peyton. We don't really need to get much more into that. So I would put him on a pressure situation, not to be fired, but just, hey, you're going to make all this noise that you better deliver. Right. Josh McDaniels. Derek, I don't, Mark Davis is a very unpredictable guy. And I know they've had a lot of turnover and change and whatnot, but they were a mess last year. They gave up a lot of leads. They played a lot of close games they couldn't win. They go out and get Jimmy G. If they're not in the playoffs again, do you think he's still the Raiders coach?
Man, No. You look at what happened to him in Denver, and I can see a similarity of what's going on here with the Raiders. You didn't have the defensive person. Defense cost them a number of games last year. There was talk about them trying to get rid of Hunter Renfrow for a long time, but they kept Renfrow in the fold, and then they went out and added Jacoby Myers. So now you're 3 deep at the wide receiver. You have a great tight end in Austin Hooper. You made some moves on defense to shore up that thing. You brought in Marcus Peters to go along with Trayvon Moring. Marcus Epps. Philadelphia can say what they want to say about him, but that kid was a baller. He was a baller last year for this team. Mm-hmm. So you realize you identify defense was your problem. You have the offense. You have the best route runner in the game in Devontae Adams, at wide receiver. So Jimmy Garoppolo is the X factor here.
Agreed.
Is he as good or better than Derek Carr in Josh McDaniel's system? Time will tell. But, he was 6-11 last year, The fact that Tom Brady is now part of the ownership group of the Raiders.
Good point.
I would use Brady to come in here and help me figure out Jimmy G. Josh McDaniels is probably one of Tom Brady's best friends.
Derek, that might help him. You make a great point. That might help him survive. Yeah.
You bring Tom Brady in there, he can come down on the field. He can show Jimmy Garoppolo a few things about a Josh McDaniels offense.
Yeah.
Give him the little nuances that maybe Josh McDaniels couldn't translate himself to Derek Carr.
Mm-hmm.
But with Jimmy G in there, and Jimmy G's a more mobile quarterback compared to Derek Carr.
Yeah.
Tom Brady could be an X factor in the success of McDaniels in Vegas.
I agree with you from a sort of consulting and coaching him up standpoint. I also think it might buy McDaniels a little bit more time where where someone with that influence who's such a big fan of his might have on the organization. Good point. Very good point. Lastly, this is the ultimate no-brainer, and I think we're both on the same page. How did he survive? Brandon Staley. I mean,
yes.
You pay Herbert what you paid him in the offseason. You have some of the talent like they have. He better win this year. He better be in the play. They need to win a playoff game, not just get in. They need to win a playoff game this year.
Yeah, he's 19-15 in his 2 seasons out there with the Chargers. You have star-studded team on both sides of the football. You just made your quarterback the highest paid quarterback in the National Football League until Joe Burrow gets his contract. There's no excuses now. You made huge mistakes last year. Matter of fact, didn't they blow a 27-0 lead in the playoffs?
Yes.
You blew up 27-0 lead. Time is not on your side, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
You made some glaring mistakes in terms of utilizing key players down the stretch, which got him hurt, which he wasn't available for a playoff game. If I'm an ownership group, I'm questioning your decision-making ability. You have to show me that I'm wrong in terms of hiring you as my head coach.
All right. Let's go NFC now. Look, tell me Mike McCarthy's not on a hot seat. I know Jerry was forever patient with Jason Garrett, but turning over the reins of the play calling to him this upcoming year with, Jerry getting a year older and everything else that's going on, I don't buy that he's completely safe if the Cowboys either get there and lose in the first round or maybe win a round and don't get beyond that. I'm sorry. I think McCarthy absolutely is on a hot seat.
Jerry Jones had come out, I don't remember how recently or how far ago it was, and said that he wanted Mike McCarthy to be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys for as long as like a Tom Landry. First of all, I don't think that's going to happen because I don't think Mike McCarthy is that coach. Number 2, Mike McCarthy's play calling abilities have been questioned. That was a big reason why Green Bay let him go back in the day. Mike McCarthy has everything at his disposal. First of all, Mike McCarthy has to figure out how they can overcome the Eagles in the division. I don't know. Dallas is a very talented team. I don't know if they're talented enough, especially with the schedule that's equal the Eagles in terms of difficulty. If Mike McCarthy is the guy you want calling the plays against, every other week is a big game for them.
Yeah.
And secondly, I wonder, does he have the ear of all the players? And if things start going bad, how quickly will players turn on Mike McCarthy?
That's the big, that's an interesting point. Like, I wonder, you're right. I wonder if a receiver's not getting the touches, like CD's not getting his touches or whatever, what that turns into, Yeah, you're right. That's going to be fascinating. I think it's underrated too that they lost Dalton Schultz. I don't think that's a little thing.
I don't either.
So we'll see. We'll see. But then they also lack depth now at running back, Derek. You have Pollard coming back off a broken leg. Right now, Ezekiel Elliott's not a Cowboy. You lost the kid Jones for 2 games with PEDs.
Yep.
So you're a little thin there too. You better hope Pollard holds up as of this point.
We don't know for sure if Pollard's going to be ready for the first game. We assume he is, but we don't know that. And if that's the case, who's running the football for this team?
Yeah, exactly.
Unless you bring Zeke in at the last moment to save the day, who the heck is running the football?
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go on to I'm going to say Nick Sirianni. And when I say this, I'm not hot taking you here that he's going to get fired or I'm not saying that. But when you get to a Super Bowl, there is pressure on you. There's no question about it. There's pressure on you. And your expectation level is different than it would be under any other team. So there's without a doubt. I mean, you have a runner-up MVP quarterback. You have a loaded team. There's pressure. It's good. There should be pressure on. It's not a bad thing.
There is pressure, but I don't think in any way, shape, or form Nick Sirianni, and I know you're not saying it, but I don't think he's in trouble. I think, and I don't see this happening. The only way the word trouble could be associated with Sirianni's name is if this team only won like 5 or 6 games with this roster.
Right.
If this is a healthy roster and they bottomed out and won 5 or 6 games, then people are going to talk. Hey, this is Philadelphia. You know what's going to happen, Rob? I have to tell you this: fire Sirianni. He stinks. How soon they forget what he did.
Yep.
But that's the only way that would be a topic of discussion.
Agreed. All right, Dennis Allen. I know he's kind of an under the radar coach in general, where you're kind of like, I don't know, really. Well, yeah, because they go out and they get Derek Carr. They have a good defense. They have pretty decent weapons, especially if Kamara doesn't get a big suspension.
Yeah,
you have good receivers. I don't think he's had enough gravitas, Derek, to get some long rope there. So if they don't have I think if they're not in the playoffs, he's out of there.
Well, the quarterback situation was a mess last year with Andy Dalton and Jameis Winston.
Yeah,
that turned out to be a disaster. Derek Carr is a good quarterback, and Derek Carr walks into a situation, especially if Michael Thomas is all the way back from his injuries of the last 2 years. That is really going to enhance that passing game because Michael Thomas is not a fast receiver, but he is an incredible possession receiver, the 50-50 ball receiver, the quick slant type receiver who can get the yak yards for you. To go along with Chris Olave, and Alvin Kamara is what he is, both as a runner and a pass catcher. Dennis Allen went 7-10 last year in his first year. He still has his offensive coordinator and Pete Carmichael down there. I would say Dennis Allen is definitely is in a pressure cooker. More importantly, because he's in such a suspect division as well. The NFC South might be the weakest division in all of football.
I believe it is. I think it's weaker than the AFC South.
I agree.
Yep.
So now all you needed was a quarterback. All you needed to do was stabilize the quarterback situation. You did that with Derek Carr. There can be no excuses in that division.
Well, let's stay in that division. And again, I think but this is just the way it goes with coaching sometimes. I think he inherited a ship that was kind of going this way. Mm-hmm. But Todd Bowles, Brady was, getting towards the end. They didn't have much of an offensive line. There was a lot going on there in Tampa when he took it over for Arians a couple of years back. And his quarterback situation is up in the air. We don't know what Baker Mayfield's going to look like or whatever. But yeah, I would put Todd Bowles in there just because he may be one of those guys who's a better coordinator. He's a very good defensive mind. Nobody doubts that. But is he a head coach?
Todd Bowles is one of the better defensive minds in all of pro football. He's put in a very, very unenviable situation. Baker Mayfield is not that guy who's going to take you deep into a playoffs. You don't know which Baker Mayfield you're going to get from game to game based on what he did with Cleveland and then his short stint with the Rams.
Right.
The running back situation is iffy. The offensive line situation is iffy. Tampa Bay's defense is going to be ready to play. But if they can get the ball back to the offense, I'm not so sure that the offense can produce once they have the ball back. Mm-hmm. Now, Mike Evans, they do have an elite receiver. Mike Evans is one of the best receivers in the game. No question about that. They have a couple of good receivers there.
Oh,
but is that enough?
Chris Godson's a stud. Yeah, they have receivers. There's no doubt. Yeah.
You know, is that enough? I don't think so.
Right.
And, you know, by Bowles going 8-9 last year, it was unfair that he inherits the team that was on a decline. And now that you have no Tom Brady at the helm, you know, and you're relying on Baker Mayfield to help save your job, that's not a great situation to be in.
It's not. It's not for sure. Okay. Beyond that, let me hit you with a couple others. I'm going to say Kyle Shanahan in this sense. I don't think if they got to an NFC championship game and lost that he would be fired. This is what I mean by, like, there's varying degrees of this. But, you know, he is thought of as sort of an offensive genius. They have all kinds of talent. They add Javon Hargrave for $23 million to that defense. It's already loaded. It looks like they're going to have Purdy back and healthy, ready to start the year. So there's not going to be a quarterback excuse. There's some pressure on Kyle Shanahan for sure.
You had one of the better records in the National Football League last year. They were what, 13-4?
Right.
You did it with 3 different quarterbacks. If your quarterback's position is stable, if Purdy's that guy, and if he plays the way he played last year down the stretch, you have no excuses. You have one of the most physical teams in all of football. You have one of the most explosive offenses in all of football, you know, in terms of personnel.
Right.
You can grind it out, you can run it, or you can throw it. You have that dual offense that can do both extremely well whenever you need. You have to not just get to the playoffs, but you have to go deep to the playoffs. See, you know, just going to the playoffs is not enough when you have a team. When that organization invests that kind of money into the personnel they've brought in there, they're telling you that it's now or never for you.
Yeah, agreed.
You know? I think he's on a very short leash.
All right, the other one I would throw in there, and I saw somebody mention it on the chat, and I apologize. We were kind of in midpoint when it was happening, so if you want to jump back in with whoever said it. But I think Ron Rivera is, and again, is this stuff always fair? No. But I think Ron Rivera is on a hot seat, Derek, simply for this reason. You know, he was inherited by Josh Harris. Right. You know, a lot of times owners and potentially owners who bring in their own GMs want to put their own stamp on things. So if they don't have a good year, you might see a new look there in Washington. A lot of, like, let's face it, Rivera's future is going to ride on Sam Howell. It just is. If Howell's good, he could be good. If he's not, he's probably out.
You're asking a kid who was the second.
Mr. Taz said it. Thank you, Mr. Taz.
What's that?
Appreciate it. He was the one who said Rivera. So just FYI.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, you're asking a kid who was a 5th-round draft pick or a journeyman quarterback in Brissett to come in and save your tenure. That's not a good position to be in. The biggest dilemma for Rivera in his tenure in Washington has been the carousel of quarterbacks he's had to deal with. They've never really stabilized a quarterback situation since he's been there. He's 22-27-1 in his tenure there. It's his 4th year. He's 0-1 in the playoffs. He's only been in 1 playoff game in his tenure there.
Yeah.
And now you have suspect players at the quarterback position. You brought in an offensive coordinator who was considered a hot commodity as a coordinator to help save your job. So you're relying on a new offensive coordinator, an untested quarterback, and a journeyman quarterback to help turn your fortunes around.
Right.
That is not a great situation.
That's a bad formula, man.
Yeah. You know, that's not a great situation to be in.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't win, he has to get in the playoffs to save his job. Period.
Yeah. I hear you. Anybody else? Did I miss anybody?
I would say Arthur Smith down in Atlanta.
Okay.
I mean, this is his 3rd year. He's 14-20 as a head coach down there. You look at what Atlanta's done this offseason. They brought in Eddie Goldman, defensive lineman, Jesse Bates, hot commodity safety.
Yeah.
Caden Ellis, hot commodity. Bud Dupree, hot commodity. And Calais Campbell. Spent a lot of money on defense. If you've identified that defense was your biggest problem, they've brought in, I just mentioned 5 names they've brought in to make that a much better defense.
Mm-hmm.
You're turning it over to a young quarterback who you feel has a great upside. If you're supposed to be this offensive mind that can get this thing going, and again, another team in the weakest division in all of football, your time is now. 14-20 in 2 seasons is not good enough. And of course, you know, They thought they would have Matt Ryan a few more years, and that didn't happen.
Right.
So that's a setback as well. But if you drafted this Desmond Ridder because you thought he could be the heir apparent,
agreed.
You drafted what? You drafted the best running back in the draft. What else can we give you?
Mm-hmm.
What else can we do for you? Okay.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like that, you're right. It's a great point. It is a great point for sure. All right, and James makes a good point. You got Bieniemy kind of lurking, right?
Lurking in the shadows. Yep.
Absolutely.
He's been waiting for a head coaching job for a long time. People have wondered why he has not got a head coaching job. You know, Josh Harris is one of those I want to make changes type owners.
Yeah.
I don't think he would hesitate to say, shake Ron Rivera's hand, say I have a lot of respect for you, but we're moving in a different direction.
Absolutely. All right. Good stuff. Let's go into our NFL segment here. Take a break. Go into our NFL segment. We'll give you some injury updates, a bunch of other stuff that's going on. And we didn't get to our greatest, so we'll do that in this segment as well. It'll be the Jaguars. So that is Derek. I am Rob. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Let me tell you about Flynn Tree Services. Flynn Tree Services is an experienced, licensed, and insured Pennsylvania tree services company that will trim or remove any unwanted trees off of your property. They offer cost-effective solutions to any tree problem that you may face. They're experts at trimming all types of trees, and they serve southeastern Pennsylvania, South Jersey, and northern Delaware. Keep in mind, it's a great time to get trees evaluated, too, before we start getting the heavy winds and rains that usually come with this time of year. You can go to their Facebook or Instagram page for more information or a sampling of their work. Give Flynn Tree Services a call at 610-850-2848, 610-850-2848, or online at flynntreeservices.com. That's flynntreeservices.com.
Heading down the shore, have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wild wood days.
Score and save in southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, Birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer three major services, the first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome back. Hour number 3 of the program. Rob and Derek, appreciate you hanging out with us. Let's hit that like button if we could, friends. All right, so a couple things, Derek. Let's start NFL roundup here. Cooper Kupp, hamstring, could miss a few weeks here. They think he's going to be ready for the start of the regular season, but they don't have him. I mean, I'm not loving a lot of the other weapons on that side of the ball for them. This could be a big one if this is real or this is a recurring thing, because we know what he means to this offense.
Well, luckily, you see a multitude of hamstring injuries this early in a training camp, and as much as he's rehabbed to get back off of that devastating knee injury, sometimes, Rob, you start favoring that leg when it doesn't feel right, and it causes certain things to happen to the body. Hopefully, it's short term and not long term. Hopefully, it's just a strain and not a tear. When they start talking about hamstring strains, there's so many different degrees of strains to the point where it could be a slight tear in there somewhere. But if they're saying a couple of weeks right now, obviously they're trying to be optimistic about it. But you're right. This is the Rams team that went from one of the best firepower teams in the National Football League to basically a team that barely had any smoke offensively last year. And the quarterback Stafford didn't finish the season because of injuries.
Right.
So they need him to be what they want to be offensively. They definitely need him.
Derek, think about this. In 9 games last year, right? He missed 8 games. So only in 9 games, he had 75 catches and 812 yards and 6 touchdowns.
There you go.
He
was the offense.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So that's a big one to keep your eye on if you're LA for sure. I thought this was interesting. So Nathaniel, we talked about this a little bit in show, but let me just circle back to it. So Nathaniel Hackett addressed the media yesterday and talked about what Sean Payton had to say. So he said a couple things. He said, look, I've been around the coaching thing my whole life. His dad was Paul Hackett, for people who may not know that. So he's he knows the gig and he knows that you're going to catch heat. He said, but the thing, you usually don't get it from your own. And he said, Payton basically broke the code.
Yep.
Which, okay, I get it in and of itself. The other thing he said was, I'm not surprised because I've been hearing about this for months now, what he's been essentially saying behind my back. So that to me is where it's a little bit dirty. Like if you're going public to try to deflect off of Russell Wilson, there's a strategy there. That makes some sense to me, right? But if you're doing it like to your brethren in the coaching ranks, everybody sees it. Like there's no mystery here. We all know what a disaster it was. You don't really need to dance on the guy's grave if that's what Peyton's been doing. That's where it's really kind of low to me.
It's not like he's a newcomer to the game. There's unwritten rules among players and coaches that and undefined lines you just don't cross. And Peyton crossed over that line 3 or 4 times and stepped back again. What does he have against Nathaniel Hackett? Because you know what? Why are you snickering at somebody else before you can prove? We know you're a quality coach, but now you've got to prove it in a pressure cooker of turning around a loaded Denver team that, oh, by the way, is now down 2 receivers indefinitely. Well, one for the whole season.
Yep.
And Tim Patrick. You haven't done anything yet with this Denver team.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that you're putting your neck out there on the line, taking a shot at somebody else. You got to be smarter than that, Sean. And he usually is. Usually he doesn't if there's one thing about Sean Payton in New Orleans, they will tell you that he didn't tell you much of anything. He knew how to play the media game.
Mm-hmm.
And he just went full bore opposite direction in this case.
Yeah.
It's like he's beating his chest and already talking about we're going to win the division. Basically, it's like saying I'm going to win the division. Did you forget that the best team in the AFC is also in your division?
Yeah.
Best
team in football. Yeah.
No question about it. So
were they still very young Patrick Mahomes?
I don't think if Nathaniel Hackett hears, hey Nate, Sean Payton's on line 2. You can tell him to hang up. I got nothing to say to him.
Yeah, I don't think that conversation's being had. I would think, and we haven't heard yet if he actually followed up on the call to Robert Saleh. We'll see. I don't know. Saleh's not the dude I want to be. I don't think I want to be screwing with Saleh too much.
I like to be a fly on the wall talking about that conversation because I believe in that case, Peyton will be going, uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying.
Yep.
I think it'll be one of those.
Just to stay on the Jets thing for a minute. So Aaron Rodgers expects his Jets tenure to be a few years. He's calling it a few years partnership. You know, he took a $35 million pay cut, et cetera. But it sounds like he doesn't want this to be a one and done. He wants to stick around for a few years with the Jets. All right. I mean, it's fine. We'll see. We'll see how this year goes.
Yeah, I think he's smart enough to realize, as loaded as this team is, and especially since they made a big investment with me in the trades they made with Green Bay, I owe it to them to give them at least a couple of years to give them the best. Now, he'll be 41, approaching 41 going into that second year.
Right.
You know, I don't know if he can sustain it like Tom Brady did at 41, but we're going to find out. But the fact that Joe Douglas has built that roster into what it is, it helps make him that much more comfortable in a situation to say, I'm staying. If I was going to like Houston or one of those teams, I would not make a commitment beyond 1 year. Let's see what happens, and then I'll think about it. But you're working for an organization that has done everything possible to make that team on paper the best it can possibly be.
Yeah.
And you are the missing piece to what we need to get this thing over the hump. You got to give us more than 1 year to see this thing through.
Right. Well, yeah, well said. All right, tell me if you believe this or not, okay? Dave Canales, who is the quarterback's coach for the Buccaneers, he says that the competition, he says there's a real competition between Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask, and it's tightened up in recent days. He said first couple of days, I think the experience that Baker brings just in playing games, being in camps, going through installs, you could see where the offense was gelling really well. He told the Tampa Bay Times. But he said the timing of the snaps, all that kind of stuff was critical for us. So probably a little bit of an edge for Baker to start off just in terms of smoothness. But it took a couple of days for Kyle to really settle in. And then we saw, you know, what he was the last two practices. Really showed what he can do. Stretching the field with his arm, getting it out quickly, decision. So I'm really excited about both of those guys' progression that they've made through the last couple of days. I'm sorry. Unless Baker Mayfield really looks awful, I'd be shocked if he's not the starter here.
I agree. Now, I will say this. I would not be surprised if Baker doesn't finish what he starts.
Yes.
Baker is one of those hot and cold quarterbacks. Looks great. Like it looks like a Pro Bowler one game. Looks like he's swirling down a toilet bowl the next game. So I wouldn't be surprised.
Super Bowl toilet bowl.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised if he's relieved of his duties before the season is over, especially in a team like Tampa Bay, especially with a head coach who's trying to save his job.
And he's on a 1 year deal. Like if it is going nowhere, you want to see what Trask is at some point.
Exactly.
You know, as a young guy. But yeah, that only happens later. This will be his job to start.
Yeah.
I think. Calvin Ridley dealing with a toe. It doesn't appear to be anything major, but you know, they're being cautious smartly with him because he even admitted himself he was trying to do too much in the early going, you know, coming off the suspension. He wanted to show everybody in Jacksonville that he still had it and all that. I mean, stuff happens. You do want to be careful with toes. It's no joke.
No question about it.
One of those things that keep recurring.
The video I've seen of him, though, he looks fantastic.
He does.
Catching pass, turning and running it upfield. Speed is still there. Yeah. And he's basically said it recently that he's on a mission, that he's still one of the best in his league. You know, losing that year, man, that ate at him. It had to eat at him. You know, he admits that he cost himself that year, but he also knows that he still has a lot to give to this game. And I tell you what I've seen so far, looking really good. But again, let me go back. It's practice.
I know. I think they're going to be fun to watch, though. I mean, when you're talking about, you know, Ridley and Christian Kirk and ETN and, you know, I mean, they're going to be fun. That is, I'm excited to watch that team. I don't really care one way or the other if they win or lose, but, you know, I wish Doug all the best. That's for sure. Tua Tagovailoa said that he did everything he could possibly do this offseason to stay healthy the entire season. But I hear this, Derek, and I appreciate how badly this guy wants to play and the work that he puts in. But I'm sorry. Like I'll give you the quote. So he said, just a lot of heavier weights, a lot more reps with heavier weights. Everything I did this offseason entailed what I could do to keep me on the field for the entirety of the season. We understand freaky things happen. It's football. It's a physical sport. Not everything can prepare you. I don't know what. Maybe weightlifting can keep him upright a little bit if a guy's trying to pull him down. Maybe it helps there. This is nothing you can control, it seems like, with the head as far as he goes.
There are a lot of players that have come back from more head trauma than he's had and played the game. Some of them do not have that quality of life after football. Some of them had. Troy Aikman's a prime example of that. He's had a quality of life since he left the game. And Troy Aikman documented, he had 8 or 9 concussions that he knew of in an 11-year career in the National Football League. Tua's going to play the game. You know, the love of the game, the competitiveness, the camaraderie. He's going to play the game, just like the kid in Buffalo.
Yeah,
you know, whether we like it or not, they're going to do what they're going to do, and you just hold your breath and you cross your fingers and hope nothing traumatic happens to them. But I'm not surprised Tua's coming back. You know, he feels he has a lot left to give the game. It is a team that's loaded with talent, so he wants to be right in the mix of it. And you know what? I can't fault him for that.
Yeah, I hear you. I don't fault him either. I just hope he stays all right. Isaiah Pacheco, the Chiefs running back who really hurt the Eagles in the Super Bowl, is going to be come back in roughly about mid-August. He'll be given the green light for full practices. He's been practicing in a non-contact jersey at camp. He had a torn labrum in his shoulder and a broken bone in his hand. So they're looking at around August 20th. For him to be cleared, and the hope is he'll be good to go for the regular season. You remember he had 830 yards last year, 5 touchdowns, 7th rounder, pretty good production. And in the playoffs, 37 carries, 197 yards, and a touchdown in the postseason. So they get their money's worth out of him.
He's such a tough young run. I love watching him run the football, man. He'll lower the shoulder and bounce off would-be tacklers in a heartbeat for a guy who's not that big of build. He is as tough as anybody in the league between the tackles. I love everything about his game. Pass catcher, running the football. August 20th, that's more than enough time. It's not like he has to learn a new offense anyway.
Right.
And of course, as we found out in recent years, it's an offense that creates itself during the course of a season anyway.
True.
So,
yeah, very true. And it's how many times there isn't going to be a whole. I know Andy is a little bit more physical than most teams this day and age, but he wasn't going to be hitting a whole lot anyway. You know, this doesn't make much of a difference. No. All right, this one, Derek, continues to be a disaster. All right, so the defensive end, I'm going to forgive the pronunciation here. Ioma Awazuki from the Broncos. All right, so he's already suspended indefinitely. It turns out it wasn't just the Broncos he was betting on last year. When he was at Iowa State, he was betting on Iowa State games.
Yep.
This guy, he's in major trouble, man. Like, I don't know that we see this guy back.
I would agree. And I think there was a report that said he was trying to scramble and cover up some of his past doings.
Correct.
As well.
Yeah.
That makes it even worse.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of admitting what you did, you're trying to cover it up.
Yeah.
To make it look better than what it is. Yeah, I agree, Rob. I think indefinite means call us in 2024 and we'll talk to you then.
Yeah, because I mean, there's like 4 or 5 Iowa State players, including the kid who was their starting quarterback last year.
Yep.
Who was allegedly betting on games, and he was doing it under his parents' I guess name, or their mom or dad's name, like whatever. I mean, he's in trouble.
That quarterback bet on 26 different sporting events. No, 26 sporting events. So it's not necessarily just football.
Right.
Iowa State. MMA. Yeah, it could have been MMA. It could have been college basketball, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think he's going to miss some significant time as well.
Yeah. He's away from the team. So he's out of there right now.
See, that's why I said, Rob, a while back, you know, we've heard this, just a small sample of players that are being suspended for gambling. I bet you there's a whole bigger picture in terms of gambling with more prominent players that we're not even have access to yet,
right,
and may not have access to, that have been gambling, and all of a sudden now they're going silent because they know the league's looking for all of them.
Right. Moore's coming for sure. Moore's coming. No, I have no doubt about that. Mike Evans makes a pretty interesting claim. The receiver from the Bucs. He says, I'll take me over any other wide receiver. Now, your first time you hear that, you're like, okay, dude, come on, Justin Jefferson, blah, blah, blah. But you look at the body of work, and this was his point. He said, look what I've done my entire career. The guy's had 9 years of 1,000 plus yards. He's the model of consistency. Yeah. Every single year he's played. I mean, why is he not talked about in the elite?
I've never been able to figure that out. Now, you even the greatest of the greats, a lot of them didn't have 9 consecutive years.
No.
If they had 5 or 6, that's pretty doggone good. But 9 consecutive years. Well, first of all, he's a big body, 230,
huge.
physical.
He looks like a tight end.
He's built like a tight end, runs like a wide receiver. You can't out jump him, you can't out muscle him, and it didn't make a difference who's throwing him the football. He's going to go get it. Great hands, great catch radius. But I don't get it, Rob. I really don't. And he doesn't miss games. Looking at his career, last year he missed 2 games. In 2019 he missed 3, but outside of that he missed 1 game each. His rookie year in 2014 and 1 in 2015. He's double digit in games every year he's played in the league. And you look at you look at the fact, Rob, that he's doing this. Here's the most impressive thing. 9 years in the league, only 1 year he's had over 90 catches.
Wow. So that's a lot of yards per catch. Yeah.
All right. Look at this, Rob. Rookie year, 68 catches, 1,051.
And by the way, he helped Johnny Manziel become Johnny Manziel.
Oh, my goodness.
But you're right. Yep.
74 catches, 1,206. Then he had the 96 catch season. Then it goes back to 71 catches, 86, 67, 70, 74, 77.
Yeah.
So his last 4 years, he's had under 80 catches a season, and he's averaging over 1,000 yards a season. His career average is 15-3, and he has 81 touchdowns.
That's a hell of a career. If he retired tomorrow, he's a Hall of Famer.
Oh, there's no question about it.
Yeah.
But you're right. The fact that when we talk about wide receivers in the game today, Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, we never talk about Mike Evans.
Nope.
Nobody does.
I don't get it. All right. But anyway, this is out of the no way that this happens category, but I'll throw it out there. A lot of scuttlebutt around the Commanders that folks are trying to change the name back to Redskins. And there was a petition, I think 37,000 signed it.
Over 37,000. Yep.
There's some whispers around the hallways of their facilities that people are still referencing Redskins, et cetera, et cetera. I'm sorry. I just don't think in this day and age that's going to happen again. They certainly could get rid of Commanders. That wouldn't surprise me, but I don't see them going back to Redskins.
Well, a lot of people view the term Redskins as a derogatory word. Okay. You look at teams like Florida State, Seminoles. Well, the Seminoles is an Indian Nation tribe.
Right.
And the Seminoles in Florida have basically said they take it as a pride factor when the Florida State fans do the tomahawk chop. Mm-hmm. The Atlanta Braves, they do the tomahawk chop. The Kansas City Chiefs, they do the tomahawk chop. Nobody says anything about them doing it, and people have been screaming about it, but yet the Braves, the Chiefs, and the Seminoles have not changed one iota.
Yeah.
But when you talk about the term Redskin, that's considered derogatory. I don't see in any way, shape, or form of them going back to Washington Redskins, even though that name was historic and symbolic for that organization. Yeah. But I wouldn't be surprised if Josh Harris, wanting to put his own niche on the team, eventually down the road decides to change the name again.
Yeah, well, like I said, I think that'll happen, but I think going back to Redskins, I don't see that. And the Indians changed their name as well to the Guardians. So there have been some changes over the years. That's for sure. All right, ready to do some greatest? Get to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Sure, why not?
All right, you get numero uno, my man.
My favorite player in the Jacksonville Jaguars history has been Mark Brunell.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
And the reason being, he's a left-handed quarterback, and me being left-handed, I'm kind of partial.
And where did he start his career?
He started his career, by the way, in Green Bay. I knew you wanted to bring that up. He didn't have a great career statistically, but he was tough, man. He led that team to 3 or 4 consecutive playoff appearances, 1 AFC Championship game. Mark Brunell, to me, was a stockier version of a Steve Young. He didn't run like Steve Young, but he could throw it, man. He loved to stand back there, pat the ball. He had an offensive line. He had a good offensive line. He patted the ball, and he was accurate as well. And he was the epitome of what the success they had early in their tenure. This was another expansion team that came into the league in 1995.
Yeah.
And their first season, they had 9 wins. And it's because they went out and got Mark Brunell from Green Bay.
A great trade. What a trade.
Yeah. And so they had see, the first 9 years they had 8 playoff appearances, and he was instrumental in a lot of those. So yeah, I put Mark Brunell in there.
Okay, that's a good one. I'm surprised you went with him one. Now I'm gonna go Tony Baselli. It's a short one, but 5 Pro Bowls, 3 All-Pros. He's a Hall of Famer. He was a member of the All-90s decade team. For the years that he played there, he was nothing but dominant. The shoulder went on him, unfortunately, and it changed everything career-wise for him. But Baselli, I think he was their first overall pick. He was that good. So I'll take Baselli. Short but sweet in terms of the career.
He was the first player selected in their initial expansion draft. He was the first player ever drafted by them. He only played 7 years in the National Football League because he blamed botched surgeries on his shoulder, cost him a longer career.
Yeah.
But the fact that he only played 7 years and he got in the Hall of Fame, that tells you what his peers thought about him. He was the elite of the elite when it came to offensive tackles in a game.
Right.
Mountain of a man. Could do it all. Could do it all. Lockdown tackle, technique-wise, ability, agility, getting off the ball, run blocking, everything you could ask for. Tony Baselli is probably still the greatest offensive lineman in the history of Jacksonville.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I agree with you. All right, who's your next?
Maurice Jones-Drew is one of my favorite. Anytime you're 5'7" and 210 pounds and you can run the way he ran, that you talk about a tough customer behind the line of scrimmage. He played in the NFL 9 years, 8 with Jacksonville. He was their all-time leading rusher. He made 3 Pro Bowls. He was their all-time leading rusher when he left there. He had at least 3 seasons where he ran for at least 1,300 yards. And matter of fact, he had 3 consecutive seasons running for that.
Yeah.
You talk about a tough little customer, man. Nobody was tougher. The small guy trying to find his place in the big man's game. Oh, he found his niche in the big man's game.
Tough, man. He was tough. He was a tough dude. He was like a little bowling ball. He would light you up. I loved Maurice Jones-Drew. That's a good choice.
He retired at the age of 29. He got out of the game early.
He did, and he transitioned. He does a very good job on the NFL. I think he's still on the NFL network.
He is still on the network. Yep.
Yeah. He was smart. He was one of those guys when he was still playing that was doing stuff too. He always had a plan. Maurice Jones-Drew did. Jimmy Smith.
Oh,
Jimmy Smith was tough. 7 straight years. We just talked about Mike Evans, right? Jimmy Smith, 7 straight years over 1,000 yards for Jacksonville. And this guy was cut by Dallas. It looked like he was going to be out of the league. He had 862 catches for more than 12,000 yards and 69 touchdowns. He was Brunell's, favorite target. This guy, he was really good. I think if he was playing in another market, maybe besides Jacksonville, he would have gotten even more love. I know there's been some stuff off the field with him too. I get that. But Jimmy Smith was a stud. Big fan.
He played 11 seasons in Jacksonville. 9 of his seasons, he had over 1,000 yards receiving.
Yeah.
Now, here's what you need to know about Jimmy Smith. In his last year in the National Football League, he had 70 catches for 1,023 yards and 6 touchdowns. He had 67 career touchdown catches for Jacksonville. You talk about a high point catcher, a tough catcher. Jimmy Smith could do it all. He may not be a Hall of Fame wide receiver, but he was definitely a quality receiver when he played the game. Agreed,
man. I'm a huge Jimmy Smith fan. All right, who else you have?
One of my favorite Jaguars, Fred Taylor. Here's a dude, 6 foot, 230-pound running back. He played 13 seasons in the NFL. He had 7 1,000-yard seasons, 62 touchdowns when he was with Jacksonville. You talk about a battering ram who also has some speed. He was it, dude. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
He got a lot more out of his career than a lot of people thought he would, not just with Jacksonville, but in the NFL because he was such a tough runner, a contact runner. But he got his money's worth out of playing the National Football League, and he delivered a blow as much as he received a blow every time he touched the football.
Yeah, they've had between he and Jones-Drew, like 2 really quality guys out of that backfield. So that I like Fred Taylor a lot. That's a good choice. I was going to go Brunell. You went a little higher than I did, but you said it all. I mean, 9 years there, quality years there, the Coughlin years, over 25,000 yards, 144 TDs. He was fun to watch too. Very mobile, strong, good guy, good player.
Yeah.
He's actually, I think he's coaching now. Is he maybe in Detroit?
Brunel is a quarterback's coach in Detroit.
Yeah. I'll give a couple other guys love here. Tony Brackens, I thought was really good. One of their defensive ends.
Yep.
55 sacks over 8 seasons. Very consistent. Good guy off the edge. He could play the run as well. I always thought he was really good. I always thought he probably didn't get enough love because of where he played, but I'll take Tony Brackens.
Well, he could have played. He could have played a lot longer, except he had a series of leg injuries and operations that slowed him down and cost him the rest of his career. But Tony Brackens was a huge player for Jacksonville between 1996 and 04.
Yep, absolutely. All right, who else do you have?
I want to go with a player who is a phenomenal talent. Correction, was a phenomenal talent, but it went south quickly in Jacksonville, and that's Jalen Ramsey.
Yes.
Jalen Ramsey was a phenomenal cover corner when he came out of college. Had 3 solid seasons down in Jacksonville. Then in his 4th season, I think under Doug Marrone, he started complaining because they were losing down there. He got into a heated match on the sideline one game to a point they had to be separated on the sideline. All of a sudden, he was traded to the Rams.
Right.
So he never even got to play a full rookie contract out with Jacksonville. But there's no question about it. You'd have to argue. I can't see anybody arguing any different that in the time that he was in Jacksonville, Jalen Ramsey was the best cornerback to ever play for the Jacksonville Jaguars organization.
No, listen, hard to argue. You just wish it was longer, right? You could have made a case for it if it was longer. That's for sure. With him, I'll go John Henderson. John Henderson was a guy who, 8 seasons, 2 Pro Bowls, very durable. This guy started 120 of 124 games in the trenches. He deserves some love here too. He was, kind of lost in some of those years where they weren't maybe as good, but he showed up every single Sunday for them. That's for sure.
I'll give you another guy whose name probably won't roll off your tongue, but he was a solid player for 13 seasons for Jacksonville. Was their center, Brad Meester. When he was coming out of college, he was considered the second best center coming out of college. But he ended up being the first center taken in that draft by Jacksonville, 60th overall. What he did in 13 seasons, he still holds the record for most games played by Jacksonville for 209, most games started for Jacksonville, 209, and the most consecutive games played at 92 for Jacksonville. When we talk about the great centers of the game, you'll never hear his name mentioned, but he was an outstanding center for a long time for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
All right, it's a good one. I'll throw Leon Searcy in there. I like Leon Searcy.
Oh, that was my guy in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, he was tough. I know his. Yeah, that's one where you can make a case for other teams. Like we have with some other guys, but had some good years, solid 5 years with Jacksonville. I was a fan of his. But yeah, you're right. I mean, you could consider him elsewhere as well.
I'll add one more name in there, Keenan McCardle.
Yes, very good.
Keenan McCardle, man, 6'1", $190, but man, could he go up and get it and could run like the wind. He only spent 6 seasons in Jacksonville. He had in his 6 seasons there, he had 499 catches for 6,393 yards and 30 touchdowns. Career-wise, he was well over 11,000 yards and 833 catches and 63 touchdowns. Keenan McCardle, along with Jimmy Smith were a great duo when they played together. He was drafted in 1996. Jimmy Smith was there and came there, 95. And once they teamed those two up, man, they were a great compliment to each other for a long time. And Keenan McCardle will still go down as one of the best Jaguars receivers ever.
Yeah, no, I agree. 100%. He was for sure. All right, let's get one in, Derek, and we'll come back. We're going to look at some of the big trades in Major League Baseball and just what an absolute disaster the Mets are. So let's enjoy that for a minute. We have a feel-good story regarding the Jamaican women's soccer team for the U.S. World Cup. We'll talk about that as well. Birthdays, movies, it's all coming your way. So don't move. We got you. That's Derek. I'm Rob. We are Sports Take. Right back.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
For the big story on Action News,
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction, go with trust,
Go Birds!
and go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
All right, did you know I was the mommy slam dunk champion?
Really?
Yes, really don't sound so surprised.
Let's see it.
Oh, you're ready. All right, here we go. Let's hear the crowd. So go to right, I go to left, fake a mom. Mama go up, mama!
She did it.
Again?
You can't avoid gravity, but United Healthcare can help you avoid financial surprises by helping you compare costs and doctor quality ratings. United Healthcare.
Uh-huh.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Final segment of the program. He's Derek. I am Rob. Thanks for hanging out with us. We do appreciate it. All right, Derek, let's go into the to baseball here. Justin Verlander, as we mentioned, ended up. So the Phillies trade was they got Michael Lorenzen and they added Rudolfo Castro as well.
Yep.
Sort of a throw in there. But some of the big names that moved around baseball, Justin Verlander goes back to the Astros. Man, how about the Rangers and the Astros in that division?
Dude, they ain't joking around, man.
Whoa. I mean, the Rangers made a ton of moves too, including getting Scherzer. So those two are going to be doing battle with one another. That's going to be pretty cool. Like, yeah.
I can't wait to see who emerges from there. Right now, the Rangers have the division lead by only a half game.
Yeah, it is tight.
They both added pitching firepower. Man, it is going to be fun to watch down the stretch, watching these two go at it.
It really is. It really is. It's going to be awesome. But you pointed this out a little bit earlier when we were talking. So the Mets, what they're currently paying is $153.2 million to their players.
Wait, what? You mean the current players or the current ex-players?
Current. Well, their ex-players they're paying out. Maybe I got this wrong. Their ex-players they're paying out $151.8 million. Is that correct?
Yeah. And the current players are paying $153.2.
They're paying 151.8 for guys who aren't even on the roster. So the first question I have is, how does the GM still have his job?
Exactly.
Like,
I think they're so far gone, to be honest, Rob, that they're just saying, you know what, we're just going to let this season play itself out. And we're just going to finish the season out. And then we'll start making, managerial changes, strategic changes. And here's the thing. The Mets are 6 games below sea level, but they're only 7 games out of the wild card spot. So even if they had kept Verlander and Scherzer, who knows? They may have hit a streak.
True.
You think about Cubs got on a roll at one point. Brewers got on a roll at one point. Diamondbacks. These teams could get on a roll in any given moment. Basically, you gave up with a lot of baseball still at play.
Yeah, you're right.
You just gave up.
Yeah. Who would have thought? Man, who would have thought them waving the red flag, being a seller? They were a seller and the Marlins were buyers.
They're unbelievable.
You would have never thought it. It's part of what's great about sports. Speaking of guys who got moved as well from the Mets, they moved Pham. Pham ends up going to the Diamondbacks. Nice little move for them. A guy with some pop could play the outfield for them. So that was a nice move. The Orioles get Jack Flaherty from the Cardinals. I think that was a little under the radar. They're young. That rotation is really young. You may see some guys. This is smart because you may see some guys start to hit the wall as they get down the stretch here. To have somebody like Flaherty, who's certainly capable. He hasn't really been healthy a ton. But
Right.
when he was right for a couple of years there, he was lights out. So I think it's a nice little move by Baltimore.
Yeah, Baltimore, they really came on the second half of the season last year. They were in the first half of the season last year, they were like dead in the water. People thought, here's another team, here's another Orioles team going nowhere. All of a sudden, they caught fire the second half of that season. And it was with a young roster. And now look at this nucleus of young players they have that have been balling, this year. So what do? Hey, we're in a prime position. We're in probably the toughest division in all of baseball, and we're at the top, not the middle, not the bottom. We're at the top. How do we enhance that? We got to get reinforcements. That's exactly what they've done.
Yeah, no question about it. All right, so this is a really good story. You put this out there during our pre-show meeting. I thought this was cool. So the Jamaican women's soccer team who's playing in the World Cup.
Yep.
We're so low on funds, they had to begin a GoFundMe to get the amount of money for travel.
Yep.
To what is it, New Zealand? I think is where they're playing the World Cup, just to get there, right? So pick it up from there, Derek. The rest of the story is just awesome.
Well, all they did recently was knock out Brazil. Of all teams, Brazil, which is a power in soccer.
Huge upset.
And they move on to the round of 16 for the first time ever in the history of that country.
Yeah.
And after that game against Brazil, you see all the girls on the ground, all the women on the ground just crying and bawling their eyes out.
Right.
You talk about a great human interest Cinderella story. I love stories like this, dude. The underdog emerges as a top dog. Now, I still don't think they're going to be one of the favorites to win it all for obvious reasons. But the fact that they've gotten this far for the first time ever, the fact that they're even there, considering they didn't have enough money to get the team there, and not only do they go there, they make a name for themselves. Well, that's an awesome story.
It's cool. It's what's great about sports. These things where it was this close to not happening, where they weren't even going to go over there, and then they beat an established team like Brazil. That's cool. Good for them, man. A team to keep your eye on for sure. All right. Beyond that, we want to hit some birthdays and some movies.
Is it that time already?
It's that time. Yes, it is. But it's one of the things after we get done. But yeah, Carol O'Connor, Archie from All in the Family, was born on this day in 1924. He would have been 99 years old.
Significant part of the way we changed our views in terms of how we watch sitcoms. Can you imagine being an actor and you're told in the 70s, in one of the more volatile times in the history of our country, a lot of racial tension, that we not only want you to be a part of this, but you're going to be the lead role, and we need you to say certain things within the structure of this show that are taboo in everyday world. Mm-hmm. And not only did he pull it off as this bigot, but he became so endeared to America TV, and people couldn't wait to watch All in the Family to see what he was going to say and do next.
Yeah. No, he was willing to play the bigot. He was willing to play the butt of the joke a lot of times, and willing to also show people that you could come around on things and learn on things. And that's not an easy thing to pull off, for sure, but he did it. Yeah. He was one of a kind, that guy. And the writing was unbelievable. James Baldwin, the great author, born on this day in also 1924. We lost him way too soon, but if you're not familiar, go back and look at some of his work. It's way ahead of its time, for sure. The actress Mary Louise Parker was 59 years old today.
Yep.
Charlie XCX is 31 today. Your favorite singer, Derek. Peter O'Toole was born on this day in 1932. Kristaps Porzingis is now 28 years old and collecting a whole lot of money from the Boston Celtics. Wes Craven, the great horror director, love his stuff over the years. He was born on this day, 1939. Unfortunately, he is no longer with us. Actor, director, producer Kevin Smith is 53 today. Actress Myrna Lloyd was born on this day in 1905, or Myrna Loy, 1905. Sam Worthington, the actor, is 47 years old today. Apollonia Cortero is 64 today. Yes. Oh, yes.
Still at 64.
Purple Rain.
Yep. Still at 64.
Mm-hmm. Lamar Hunt, who was the founder of actually they were the Dallas Texans and then the Kansas City Chiefs. born on this day in 1932.
You know, he coined the term Super Bowl. He was one that coined the term. Yep.
Oh, I didn't.
And he also owned teams in other sports. You know, we talk about the Cronkies and the Josh Harrises of today, but he also owned part of the Chicago Bulls at one point, and he also owned FC Dallas in the MLS soccer league as well.
No kidding. Yeah, and his son Clark runs the Chiefs. Joanna Cassidy, the actress, is 78 today. Edward Furlong, the actor, is 46. Former Israeli president Shimon Peres was born on this day in 1923. Jack Warner, who founded Warner Brothers, was born on this day in 1892. Butch Patrick, Eddie Munster, is 70. Little Eddie, 70 years old today. He's an interesting looking guy if you've seen him without the makeup.
Yeah. Interesting is the appropriate word. Yes.
Keep moving. Catherine Harold, the actress, is 73 years old today. Victoria Jackson, who was on Saturday Night Live, is 64. Golden Tate, former Eagle, is 35 years old today. Laramie Tunsil, the offensive lineman, is 29 today. Who else do you have?
Let me get caught up here. Laramie Tunsil. Okay. We go back. We have Nick Diaz, the MMA fighter, is 40 today. We have Gary Merrill, who was in a movie All About Eve, born on this day in 1915. Max Wright, who played Alf. Remember the sitcom Alf?
Dad.
You ever watched that sitcom?
He was the dad on Alf. Yeah,
he was the dad. He was born on this day in 1943.
I thought Alf was funny. I did
too.
I liked it.
Skylar Diggins Smith in college at Notre Dame, phenomenal college basketball player. She's still playing for the Phoenix Mercury. 33. Simone Manuel. She is the first African-American woman to win an individual Olympic gold medal in swimming.
Nice.
She is 27.
Nice.
Lance Ito is the judge who presided over the O.J. Simpson murder case.
That's right.
73 today.
All right.
Billy Cannon, former great college football player Billy Cannon, was born on this day. He was the first overall pick in the NFL draft in 1960. He was born on this day in 1937. Kenny Rhodes, who was a really good cornerback in the National Football League, safety for the Jets, got out of football and got into acting. He's 41 today, and former current left winger for the Edmonton Oilers, Evander Kane, is 32 today.
Okay. All right. Good ones. All right. Let's go movies here. Signs, the M. Night Shyamalan movie. Very good. Very good movie. 2002. Weird Science, Anthony Michael Hall in the crew, 1985. Yep. Matilda was 1996. The Descendants, 2019. The Others, 2001. Hollow Men, 2000.
That was a great movie.
That was.
Yeah.
Hollow Man's very good. 1996, Chain Reaction. 2016, I didn't see this one. I saw the original. Amityville Terror. I guess that's the remake of. Yep. In 2016.
Well, I think it's part 2.
Oh, part 2.
I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I saw the original, but I didn't watch part 2.
Okay. That was scary. I was a kid, man. I was like a little kid. I was
like,
any house that looked like, I didn't want to go up in an attic. I didn't want to go anywhere near a house, man. It looked like
yeah, that's all right. I'm done with that. So
yeah. That's all I have movies. What else do you have?
The other one I have is Hobbs and Shaw, which was one of the spinoffs from the Fast and Furious series. That was with The Rock and Jason Statham.
Okay.
That came out in 2019.
Okay, I didn't see that one. Okay. All right, good.
That's one that should be on your viewing list.
I will check that out because I love all the Fast and Furious. Quez Watkins says that he's playing with a major chip on his shoulder.
Good.
Yes. And he said last year he was playing through an AC joint sprain that maybe affected him. But he said, quote, when asked about playing with the chip on his shoulder, most definitely. I always keep a chip on my shoulder. Coming off of last season, I definitely have a big one. Okay. Okay. Look, I'm happy that he's got an edge. I am sincerely happy he's got an edge, but I feel like we've been hearing from a lot from him. He better show up. They need him to show up too, Derek, because he brings an element that they need.
Then taking the top off he has that take the top off of defense speed.
Yep.
When you had the type of success this Eagles team had last year, and all you hear is your offseason that your fan base wants to get rid of you. They consider you a bust. They consider that you cost them the Super Bowl with that drop pass. All those emotions build up. And he came out and made that statement, that profanity-laced statement on Twitter, X. To me, it's Twitter. I don't care.
It was Twitter when he did it. Yeah, it was Twitter when he did it. Yeah.
There's a reason why he should have that proverbial chip on his shoulder. But now that you put that out there, you got to go out and produce now. You first of all, you came out and you responded to the critics publicly on social media. And now you've admitted you have a chip on your shoulder. And when you say you have a chip on your shoulder, it tells me that you're more focused, you're more locked in, and you are committed to proving all of your doubters wrong. Anything less than that, people are going to chew you up in this town. So you better get ready. You better produce, and you better be able to back up everything you've been saying in the offseason. If not, it's not going to be a very good marriage for you in Philadelphia.
You know what's interesting? And tell me if there's anybody else that fits this category. I can't think, other than maybe, and all joking aside, other than maybe Sippos, I can't think of one player that the fans are kind of waiting to pounce on. Like if Watkins drops a pass, he's going to hear it. If AJ Brown or Devontae or somebody, Goddard dropped a pass, it's like move on.
You hear ooh and an ah, but that's it.
Yeah, but Quez is on the list with Sippos. Is there anybody else? I don't think so.
No. I thought maybe Slay because of the way he tailed off the second.
I don't know if he's there yet though.
But not there. No.
Yeah.
People are still high on Slay.
Yeah.
They could come back from last season. But no, I think those are the only two that people have already formed an opinion on heading into the season, and you're going to have to do an awful lot to change their minds.
Yeah. It's I know they're talking about the kid Nagata, but he has, no experience. I think Quez, it's set up for him to be here. But I don't think Nick Sirianni and or Brian Johnson or whomever is going to have a lot of Howie is going to have a lot of patience if it starts off slow. Like if Jalen's hitting him in stride down the field and he's dropping passes like that, then I think it's going to be a real short, stint with them.
See, Twiz says, Quez was elite last year, and then he has elite at screwing up.
Yeah, it was. I think the Super Bowl and just there were some real just big gaffes in the whole year with him, and I think that's it's fresh on a lot of people's minds.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. But we'll see. He's certainly one that's in a position where he's got to prove himself, where there are a lot of others that don't. No doubt about that. All right, Eagles back at practice tomorrow, Derek. Phillies tonight. It's game 3 of that 4-game set with Wheeler on the mound. You'll get to see the new guy tomorrow afternoon, Lorenzen. He'll pitch tomorrow, but they'll finish up. Then they come home to face Kansas City for a weekend series against the Royale with cheese. So that's who they will be taking on when they come back. So we'll cover it all, that's for sure. And I want to thank Tone Shields. Tone, great job, man. Appreciate it. Good job on your segment as well. Thanks to everybody in the chat section. Appreciate you guys as always. Good comments. Way to keep it rolling. Helps you guys when you're giving us good stuff and good banner back and forth. It really does help make the show that much better. So appreciate it. Keep it up. Thanks to everybody who streamed, everybody who listened. And again, you can always go back to jakibsports.com if you miss any of our show. And there you go. Sports Take Jacob at Gmail. If you want to send us any photos of yourself, there's a lot of new faces and a lot of new names in the chat section. We'd love to put a face with a name. So if you want to send us pictures of yourself or anything like that, or comments or questions, feel free to do so. All right. So don't go anywhere. Coming up, and you please like and comment and subscribe JAKIB Sports as well. All right. Dan Cilio's got you next with the National Football Show. Gunner and I back tomorrow at the same time. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you tomorrow. We are Sports Take.